Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone doing today?
Walaikum assalam. We're
Wonderful.
good. How are you, Mark?
Um,
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Doing some house projects today, but I'm more than happy to take a break to fill my head with something to help me out.
That's great, alhamdulillah. All right, so I think we're just going to get started, inshallah. And assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to Proven Digital Fundraising Strategies. I just wanted to welcome everyone and for taking this time out on a Saturday morning, which looks, at least here in Canada or Toronto, to be a lovely sunny day. So we'll just get started with a little bit of a dua and a sound vision background, and then we'll just dive right into the training. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. May Allah make this really beneficial for everybody here. And just wanted to let you all know, those of you who do not know Sound Vision is a Chicago-based organization, and it is over 30 years old. We have recently launched the Muslim Network Television, and we have been working on the Justice for All causes with different campaigns for relief for the Uyghurs and the Rohingyas. We also have an educational sector for young kids called Adam's World and Colors of Islam, and we also do the trainings now. So Sound Vision is, mashallah, growing, and we really, really want to bring these trainings for our Muslim community so that we can also have the expert trainings and advice that other communities have had for generations. And inshallah, we want to strengthen our own community. So please do share them whenever you see them in our newsletter. Do sign up for our newsletter. In Canada, we are registered as Sound Vision Canada, and inshallah, I'm going to just hand it over to Brother Mahmoud Qasim, who is currently the CEO of IDRF, which is the International Development and Relief Foundation, and he has helped double their revenue in 1 year, mashallah. Previously, he was the head of fund development for Islamic Relief Canada. During his time there, the revenue grew from $17 million to over $50 million. He is a seasoned fundraising specialist with a strong understanding of online marketing and fundraising. So over to you, mashallah, and I'm sure you're going to do wonders today.
Thank you so much. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. First and foremost, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I'm going to start off first. I think it's important for all of you to understand the structure, what we're going to do, how we're going to conduct this training. I'm going to be looking at this screen, but I also have a second screen here, so you might see me looking away from the camera once in a while, but I'm trying to make sure I have all my content and things that I want to share with all of you on the landscape that I need, and I couldn't do justice with it on one screen. So I have a few screens set up here just so I can be multitasking and making sure I have everything prepared. To start off, just to give you guys all everybody here an introduction, I plan on conducting this with a lot of engagement. So I would really hope that everybody here can participate, engage, and really feel open. So ask as many questions as you like, and I will try my best to cover it in the time that we have. And a thing that I always share with everybody is, regardless of this training maybe finishing, it's only 3 hours or so, I will give my contact information at the end. You are always welcome to reach out, and any assistance and support that I can provide, I'd be more than happy to do so. So the structure that I have put together, I really try to focus on areas that I have seen working successfully for organizations. I have provided support to multiple organizations, even during my time here at IDRF and previously with Islamic Relief, and even prior to that with Mercy Mission, traveling around the world and helping our different offices in over 14 countries to set up their teams and their structures and also help with their fundraising goals. So I have some experience from different angles and perspectives and picked up some insights from different seasoned experts across the world. So I'll try and share what I can. I'm not going to say I'm a subject matter expert in all categories. I will try and do my best in answering as many questions as I can. But one thing I definitely can do is areas where I have access to resources that are seasoned and really well qualified, and you need further assistance in connecting with the right people. I will make sure to connect you all to the right resources. I strongly believe that helping each other is only going to help us. So, inshallah, the goal is that we want to uplift the organizations that are working hard around the world, especially here in North America as well. And inshallah, we can make sure we support each other. So we'll go through some introductions, and I will bring up the slide, and hopefully everybody can at that point turn their cameras on. We can see each other and get to know each other a little bit before getting into the meat of it all. I also want to understand your organization. So Sister Nargis did a great job throughout sharing with me the names of the organizations that are signing up and coming. And I tried my best to take a look at as many of the websites and the content that you had. I did use some examples from the ones that I received earlier on to try and share some of the things that I saw that were, in my view, great, and some of the things that can be improved. But throughout the training, I tried to use neutral examples so that you can take some lessons from different organizations and what others are doing to try and improve their working styles. And we'll get into, digital fundraising. In this world of COVID, we've all had to become digital fundraisers, regardless of being a community development fundraiser or a fundraiser who gets up on stage and is asking for funds. Everybody has had to pivot and figure out ways to engage the community from behind a screen. And inshallah, we'll try our best to cover as much as we can. And I'll get into the different fundraising channels and ways that we can improve on them. Also looking at some data that will help us to make some of these decisions. And hopefully that will give us finally get into some of the final thoughts and wrapping up. So I will like to ask on personal introductions, if let me get my Zoom screen back up here. Here we go. Okay, so if I could ask everybody, if possible, to share with me. Let me see if I can go like this. I can't see my video here. Where are you guys? Oh, that's not it. Why can I not see anybody? Is anybody there?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah, we are here.
Yes.
When you go on view on the top, there's an option to view gallery.
Okay, there we go. All right, so if I can ask anybody here, they can start off. Tell me your name, what organization you represent, one interesting fact about yourself, and something, I know this is a little strange, but what's the most useless talent you have?
I'll go ahead and start. My name is Mark. I represent Sound Vision and Muslim Network TV as their fund development manager. My primary tasks right now are working to find fundraising to help us both with our network, but primarily with our social justice wing, Justice for All. My most useless talent is probably my ability to make silly faces for my daughter. I don't know that it's going to help me anywhere other than with her, but it's kind of a silly thing.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mark.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Walaikum assalam.
My name is Humayun Kabir. I work for Helping Hand for Relief and Development. I've been with them for about 9 years now. Current title, current responsibility is I'm responsible for their planned giving program. Useless talent, I have a bunch of them, but one is I'm a very sarcastic person, and sometimes I can fool people what I'm saying, and I think so that sometimes it hurts me. So it's useful. It's useless actually. It doesn't have.
Wonderful.
Thank
It might come in handy sometimes.
Yes. Jazakallah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And I'm glad to be here learning more.
Inshallah.
I can go next. I'm Firdaus Ali, and I'm with the Canadian Council of Muslim Women, also known as CCMW. I think one interesting fact about myself is that I'm soon going to be a grandmother in July. And the most useless talent I would say I have is I suck at diplomacy. So I kind of say it as it is. I shoot like a straight arrow. Sometimes that can be problematic. So happy to be here.
I don't know if that's that useless. Sometimes it comes in very handy. So, but hopefully, we won't experience too much of that today, but we'll see, inshallah. Wonderful. All right, next. How many do we have here? So that's 3 so far.
10 more to go.
Okay,
You should call out names.
let's do that. If you can help me pick out the next name, that'd be great.
Okay, Sawi Ali. Is there a Sabi Ali, are you there? Okay, we can move on to Ihsan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ihsan Ansari, and I'm pretty sure Mahmoud knows me very well.
Yes, Ihsan, mashallah.
Oh, we don't.
Yes, that's true. I'm from the Furqan Project Canada, and alhamdulillah, we distribute Quran to non-Muslims. I'm the regional manager for Canada. So we have 2 organizations. One is in the US, and then the Canadian department I'm responsible for. And alhamdulillah, something interesting about myself, I would say that alhamdulillah, I graduated from the University of Medina in 2016. So that was an honor for me to be there. And something useless, I would say a useless talent would be being a horse for my son. During the when I come back from work, I help play with him, and I'm that horse for him that goes around and plays with him during that time. Alhamdulillah. So that's something that
I'm sure he thinks that's a very useful talent.
Yes, that's true. So I'm glad to be here. Jazakallah khair.
MashaAllah.
Great. All right, Naomi Palwala. I don't know if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, we can come back to you. Say,
Can you guys hear me now?
oh, there we go. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So, my name is Naomi Palwala. I'm driving at the moment. I do apologize, but I'm the director of outreach for ICNA Relief, Massachusetts. Brother Humayun knows me very well. We've go way back. So yeah, I handle all the outreach for that one office. We have about 26 offices nationwide, and we have ICNA Relief Canada as well. One useless fact, it could be useless because I don't play anymore, but I am ridiculously good at ping pong. No one knows that seeing me, but I'm really good.
That's great. Thank you. Somebody from the Black Canadian Muslims. We have, I don't have a name there. Yes, go ahead.
Can you see me?
Yes, right.
Okay. I'm so glad that I'm not the only one driving. Unfortunately, yes, I'm actually driving right now. My name is Bilkis Quick, and I am representing the Black Canadian Muslims. We are a new organization. We actually are about to be 1 year old. So it was founded last year, and alhamdulillah, we have actually been able to do a lot of activities and programs, even over Zoom. So alhamdulillah, yeah. So this is why this is like a perfect workshop for us at this time. And my useless talent is, I actually can massage cats to sleep. So I don't know if that's it's useful for
that
the
could
cats.
Be a new business opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Zehun, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. I think you're muted.
Yeah, my name is Zagam Rasool, and I was working for pharmaceutical marketing, and these days I'm affiliated with one of upcoming project from Canadian Supreme Council. We are having a beautiful project in Ajax, close to Toronto. And we are trying to raise funds for that. And these days I'm enjoying Corona at home.
Stay safe.
Smile Canada.
Sorry?
Somebody from Smile Canada. I was just passing on to the next person. I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
That's happened to me so many times. Salam, my name is Yaz Zohar. I'm the fundraising manager for Smile Canada. And something interesting about me, I used to play in the NBA. No, I'm kidding. I'm a huge basketball fan. I love sports. I'm just waiting for the weather to get better so we can get out there and start playing. Something useless talent about me, I guess, would be I'm an entertainer for my fish. I have fishes, so I entertain my fish. My fishes.
All right.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
My name is Kaiser Hussain. Sorry, I'm trying to do the video. Sorry here. Maybe you can see me. Sorry in the other screen. So my name is Kaiser Hussain. Brother Mahmoud Qasim knows me back from Al Qasim estimation days. So professionally, I'm a project manager and a consultant in the healthcare and home care sector. And I founded the Happy Strong Family as a non-profit organization a few years ago. And we provide parenting courses and marriage workshops and children programs. So that's pretty much it. And I love to spend time with my family, kids, and yeah, that's about it. And my useless talent is basically I did some accounting course certifications, and also I think some real estate, but it seems that it's not being utilized the way I planned. But alhamdulillah, going on. Jazakallah khair.
Great. Thank you. I think Sabi Ali, if you're there, we can go with you last. Okay, so over back to you, Mahmoud.
All right, thank you so much. No, that's wonderful. I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Mahmoud Qasim. Right now, the organization that I represent is IDRF. One interesting fact about myself, I am a huge basketball fan as well. I love basketball, specifically the Toronto Raptors. Die hard, doesn't matter, win or lose, that's my team. And one useless talent I have is I like spinning pillows. So, I just put a pillow on my hand. I could be working on something and I'll just keep spinning it. So it's just a weird thing. While I'm focused on something else, I'm just spinning a pillow. So hopefully today I don't do that while we're having this training. But if I do, just remind me that I'm spinning a pillow and I'll stop. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. And those we missed or those who are joining late, we will hopefully get some opportunity to talk afterwards. Now, I know with Zoom, it's a little bit tough because we're going back and forth. And for some of you, you've already covered these, but that's great. But it's open now. You don't all have to speak. But specifically on the areas of, are you directly responsible for fundraising in the organization, or are you one of the individuals there that is supporting one of the departments, be it the community side, or as I heard some of the people here on planned giving, and others are leading their non-for-profits. And have you made any changes or adjustments based on the pandemic to your fundraising campaigns? And also, what challenges have you faced during the COVID-19 pandemic with your fundraising? I'd like to get a pulse of where we are, what sort of challenges you are facing, and if you've made any adjustments. So if anybody wants to share their thoughts, that would be wonderful.
Regarding Sound Vision and Muslim Network Television, I've been on the job for just a little over a month, so I'm not going to be able to speak in great detail about what the the history is of the organization and what the challenges were specifically during COVID. What I can say is that, like many of you, my job is to find ways to engage donors and prospects and casual donors to get them to help us support our mission, bringing them in as a solution to a need, a solution to a problem, and helping them understand how their activity and their work will ensure good results carried out by our organization, inshallah. With regards to the challenges that were had during COVID, from what I have been told, our organization was at one point was very reliant on in-person events, gatherings as fundraising. They were able to pivot last year with some level of success, not the success they'd enjoyed previously, but with some level of success moving into direct appeals online, events like webathons and video messaging for direct appeals, which alhamdulillah helped the boat stay afloat for a little bit longer. And in terms of adjusting targets, some of that work has already been done and I'm catching up to it, but I would not be the best person to speak to that for our organization at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of organizations have had to obviously figure out ways and pivot from anything on the ground. So there are some things that we'll share today, hopefully, that can cover some of those areas. And welcome to the team there. I think it's going to be great. I know some of the people here in Sound Vision in Canada side. So we'll definitely connect as well in the future too on different projects. Anybody else want to share some of their thoughts on?
Assalamu alaikum. I would share from Helping Hand side is we were also a very event-based fundraising, because prior to my current roles as of last year, I was directly involved with active fundraising, responsible for the region, responsible for the zone. So 2020 was a shock, like for everybody else's. January, February, we were planning for a very robust year, and March we were shut down. And overnight we had to turn to online. And we have been always a strong base on online, 70, 30%, 70% online, 30% actual. But alhamdulillah, with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our support channel, we were able to pull the year very strong. One of the better years I have seen in 9 years, I would say. And the biggest challenge we had is how to bring donors to our online events. We did a lot of online events. We did webathons, telethons, webinars, regional zone events, but it was a challenge to bring the audience to it, because we were always in the process of shaking hands, giving hugs, meeting one another, going visiting, lunch meetings, meeting on tea and things like that. So very one-to-one. But that was our challenge, and we are still learning. This is another year, another trial, another test for all of us. That it's a trial year. We are calling it a hybrid fundraising. Last year was all online fundraising. This year we are calling it. We are hoping we'll be able to do hybrid, some of the both. So I would love to hear your expertise and how we can do better going forward, because this is a new norm. Some of us don't want to accept it, but I have a very strong feeling what I'm hearing and whatnot from the medical field and professional field, that this is a new norm. Remote working, hybrid things, online things. So
definitely. No, I think you guys have a bit of an advantage down south where you could do hybrid, but some of the organizations in Canada are probably still for a little while going to stick to just online because of our restrictions. And obviously our vaccine rollout is much slower than many of the other countries. So, but inshallah, I think we'll try our best to cover. It's great to hear that you've had one of the stronger years in the past 9 years that you've seen. That's wonderful, mashallah. You guys must be doing something great. And I know for many organizations we've heard in the past, and I've been talking to, that they've pivoted and figured out ways to make things work. And hopefully, I'll share some of those strategies with all of you. Anybody else want to jump in? We'll take one more.
Yeah, I can go. Shoma. So I started with the relief right at the height of COVID. Like literally, I got the job offer, and then the next month everything shut down. So when we were doing fundraisers and webinars and just event based, I realized that everyone is going to be looking to social media for certain things. So we have, alhamdulillah, we were able to pivot our programs to more hunger prevention and financial assistance. So we just started like blasting everyone with pictures and testimonials of what we do, and we took over our fundraising efforts. And like Brother Humayun said, we finished strong. But a lot of people are looking to social media for their news. So we just flooded their social media with all the effort that we do, and that kind of worked out for us. But now we got to go back to it. But I think the best thing to do is let your work speak for yourself, and that really helped us a lot in the last year.
Wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. That's great. Okay, so I am going to start it off. So I'm going to get right into it now with a little lighthearted video that I found. And just a disclaimer, there is one or two bleeped out words. So, don't hate or don't try to figure out what they were saying. I don't think they were saying anything crazy, but they have bleeped it out. So it's just to lighten the mood a little bit for those that are in the fundraising space. You will definitely relate to this, and you will understand why I thought it was a great way to start it off. This is an organization based out of US that produced this as one of their fundraising campaign videos. And when I watched it, I couldn't stop laughing because I deal with a lot of these questions, and sometimes you have, the donors that have certain requests like this, or institutions that you may be getting funding from. So let's get right into it. And I have shared the sound, so you should be able to hear the sound. But if you don't, please do stop me.
Yeah, his voice is not coming.
There's no sound.
There's no sound?
No sound.
Oh, okay.
I hear it. I hear it just fine.
Yeah, I also hear the sound, which is fine for me too.
Oh.
I don't see anything. No video, no sound.
So some of you don't hear it, some of you hear it?
Yeah, but majority don't hear, I think.
Is that so? Okay, let me close this, stop sharing screen, and then reshare it. Share with sound. Okay, I have checked off share sound. Let's try that again.
Can I ask, for those who don't see the video, are you able to see everybody else's faces? Because it might be your own personal view option.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, I can see the faces, but no sounds.
Yeah, I can see the faces as well too, but no sound.
Yep, I only have, I see it only, no sound.
I see video now.
Okay, so those that are on desktops are probably seeing it and hearing it. Those that are on mobile devices are probably looking at the gallery view, might not be seeing it. So
On laptop is not, voice is not coming.
okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it the old school way. I'm gonna take my earpods out and I'm going to just play the sound through my computer. If that works for everybody.
So before I share my screen, I'm going to play and tell me if you guys can hear it.
Yes, I can.
I appreciate what you do for this neighborhood.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, I could hear it.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
can hear it.
I'm on my screen now.
But this is, I think the previous one was better for me.
Yeah, it should be a lot better if I do it the other way, since it's coming right from your speakers. This is now playing through my speakers. So
Let's just do it again. Let's share it again. The screen.
So sometimes it helps if you have access to two screens. You can play on two screens. One is you're using it for presentation.
that's
The
what I'm
second one
doing.
you play it just for video.
Or if there's a link, maybe those who can't see it can just click on the link themselves.
I'll play through now, and hopefully everybody can hear it.
No, not working.
Is there a link for the video? Because that was a good idea. Maybe you can just watch it.
Yeah, I'm watching the video, but sound is not coming. Taha? Yeah, no. Can you share the link of this video, please?
All right. So I know some of you said you had sound issues. What I'll do is I will also share after I'll put this up and then you guys can watch it yourself, hopefully. So I put my earphones back in now. So if I could ask everybody to please grab a device that you have, or if you're on your phones and you can't get on another device, just open another tab and go to menti.com or scan this barcode right here. That's going to bring you guys to over here. So this is the code I'd like you to enter. Oh, let me share my desktop. All right, you guys can see the screen here.
Yes.
Okay, so enter the code 50263916. So I'd just like to get an understanding of the different sizes of organizations that we have here. And if you can pick one of the responses, we'll see it live here. We'll wait for a few seconds to get everybody in. Okay. Okay, we have 4 responses so far.
Sorry, Brother Mahmood, I'm driving, so I won't be able to do the thing, but helping hand is 30+ million.
Okay, so we got 1 for over 10, 5 for under 1.
And here in Ajax, we have just over 1 million.
Okay, over. So we have 1 in the over 1 million. So we have 7 responses so far. For those who can't do it.
Sorry, I'm also driving. We just started, so definitely under 1 million.
Okay, so 6. Any others who are still trying to do it? Okay. I won't take too long here. So it would be nice. I know we have about 13 or 12 people here. So we should be getting at least 10 responses. I would like to make this as interactive as possible. So we have a spread of about 2, 5, 6 people, 6 organization sitting around the under 1 million. We have 1 that is over 1 million. And we had 1 mention that they're over 10 million, so 30 million plus. And for the rest who have not, we will just assume you are in one of these categories. All right. Okay, one more question. And you should see another one pop up on your screen for you to select. What area of digital fundraising do you know the least about? And if you know about all of these, then you can obviously select the answer. Okay.
As earlier, I'll give you my voice response.
No problem.
Aware of everything, but definitely would like to more about digital and Google.
Okay.
Also, my voice response. I'm aware of all of them, but we definitely need help in all areas.
Okay. All right. We have 4 responses so far on the app, and we have 2 on audio. All right, we have 1 there too. Okay, website visits. Wonderful. All right. So Digital ads, okay. All right, so I'll move forward. Let's stop here. So I have a decent idea now of where everybody sits. I think right now everybody's videos are off as well. If you can mute yourself too, if you're there's some background noise, so just want to avoid that. All right, so let's get right into it. So I'll try and cover all of those anyways. I know some of you mentioned specifically website conversions. You mentioned there wasn't too much for social media, but I'll try my best to cover that as well. There's some avenues and ways that you could really tap into how to do that. So just give you a rough idea, what is digital fundraising? So a lot of people use this language and say, okay, we have to increase our digital engagement. We have to increase our digital funds coming in, online marketing, and there's different words thrown around, but it's really simple. Digital fundraising is raising funds online. Any method you use to bring funds through online platforms is digital fundraising. It's not just digital ads. It's not just email marketing. It's a combination of everything put together. In marketing, way back when, you used to hear the term marketing mix. You have to have a mix of different ways. You have to have ground touch points. You have to be able to engage them through online means, offline means. With digital, you have to have that similar approach. You can't put all your eggs in one basket and try and reap all the results through one avenue. You have to dabble with many different options. You have to continue looking at ways to do it. Certain areas people know about more than others. So email, social media, targeted digital advertising, these are the common ones that we are all aware of, but there are ways to really improve on them. Many of the organizations that I have spoken to and that I work with closely and help them and mentor them through some of their changes, small adjustments to any one of these can also increase your revenue potentials. And I'll give you some examples of it as we go through it. Digital is also to bring your message directly to the people who are going to support your organization. So we heard from one of the brothers earlier that everybody had to make that adjustment and go online, and they've started to figure out how are they going to switch from always needing to do fundraising events, the one-to-one, the coffee discussions, and so on, to now having to do this online. And there are some great ways and benefits that you can still have that one-to-one engagement, because your message now directly reaches the people that are going to engage with your organization. Now, before any fundraising, the principle that I strongly believe in, and I feel everybody should be moving towards this sort of mindset, is that you need to have a good understanding of your organization's data. So this doesn't just mean online traffic and online engagement and analytics, but you need to understand your overall organizational pattern. Now, for those of you who are larger organizations, you might have donor management platforms. So there are tons of them out there. There are some old organizations and companies that have been in this space for a long time, like Razor's Edge and Blackbaud. You have Salesforce, you have Donor Perfect, you have Kindful, you have so many different donor management platforms. Reviewing that data and looking at the giving patterns of your donors, linking that to certain seasons or certain times of the year that donor gives, understanding the channels that those funds come in through in the traditional sense from our pre-COVID era, will also help you to put together a strategy and a plan that will make it easier for you to target them online. And once you know that data, you have to then compare that data with your online traffic. So looking at how is the behavior and what is the behavior of those that are engaging with your content online compared to the rest of the data that you have. Now, for those organizations that don't have donor management tools, some of the new ones that are starting off on this call, you don't have to have amazing tools yet. I know when I was first working with some organizations, we used to keep our donor records on Excel, and you would know when they gave, what they gave for, what their name was, and so on. You can also use that information to understand, I have donor X who usually likes to give in end of the year. I noticed they're giving close to tax season, and that's kind of the pattern that's developing. Whereas others you might find are giving specifically only in Ramadan, or only in Qurbani, or only in back to school, or certain trends that are happening, things that are in the media. So once you understand the giving pattern of your constituents and the people that really engage with you, that'll give you a good understanding of what does a donor profile look like of people that engage with our organization. People that like to engage with us seasonally, people who like to engage with us based on religiosity or certain giving seasons that are more inclined towards giving. And you have to also look at your offline and online campaign synergies. A lot of times I have seen this, and this is a problem that many organizations struggle with and try to overcome, is the siloed approach to working. And as an organization gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you start to see this divide of when targets come in, when organizations put certain targets on only the marketing department, and different targets on your mosque fundraising teams, and different targets on your community engagement side. You start to see this territorial approach in some of these organizations. My advice to many of these organizations is you have to create platforms and avenues for everybody to work together. Things don't have to be just target driven. They have to be purpose driven. They have to be driven to the cause of what you're trying to achieve. And ultimately, everybody has to be pulling in the same direction. So my principle and philosophy is never to split targets just to online, offline. At the leadership level, yes, you may look at it and see what, where the monies are coming in from. But when the staff and your teams or your volunteers are carrying out these initiatives, it should not be segmented to a level where it's creating too much competition internally. Now, some of the conventional fundraising methods, we heard it shared by some of the members that are on this call: phone campaigns, direct mail, galas, in-person events, celebrity endorsements, community fundraisers, especially in Ramadan. Many of us are accustomed to that 27th night being held hostage at the mosque for 2 to 3 hours. You can't move, you have to sit through it. Or different organizations coming in on different nights, fundraising, and tons of galas and events and stuff. And you find in our community, there's a pattern of heavy engagement for Ramadan. And maybe I don't speak for all organizations here, but I know for especially the relief charities or development charities here that are on the call, Ramadan is like your year-end campaign, your biggest campaign of the year. Majority of the donors come to support through this, and a lot of budget was being allocated to these conventional methods. And what you find is these conventional methods can be translated and done in ways where you can reap rewards. So phone, for example, can be converted to social media conversation. How many of you here in your marketing team see that you have posts and shares that go out, but when it comes to actual engagement, so if a person writes a comment or asks a question, a lot of times that goes unanswered. And that is what social media conversation is about. You have to do the speaking, but you also have to do the listening. And a lot of times organizations are great with sharing content and putting things out, but the engagement with those same constituents or donors that are potentially going to engage with your organization, there isn't too much being done on the conversation side. So that is something to ask yourself, and you can do a review of some of your posts and things that you have seen come out of your organizations or your nonprofits. It's great that you share your content, but it's also better that if you engage with your audience, so if there are questions coming, there are comments happening in your Instagram or your Facebook or your Twitter, that you are having these conversations. Number two, conversations don't need to happen only on your own content. People have to start engaging with things. For example, if you are a magazine, and if you're writing content for youth, a great way to have these conversations and to bring yourself into people's minds and hearts is you start following different pages and different areas where youth are engaging. And when you see a comment of relevance to what you're doing, you are engaging in that conversation. So you are putting in your voice and you're saying, based on your research or based on what you have put out or what your organization is doing, A, B, C, D. And then you will start to see, as you become a subject matter expert and those issues, people will start coming to your organization to engage with your content. Same goes for relief organizations or for social services organizations. You have to find those channels where these conversations are happening, and you have to have teams or people or volunteers to start engaging with that content. A lot of us look at social media and say, well, we're trying, we're pushing, we're not getting that many likes, we're not getting that many shares. It's not only about the likes and shares. We have to turn some of the conventional methods into ways that we can engage in conversations. I know myself, if I'm in a gathering and I hear a conversation of interest, I probably will gravitate towards that conversation and then get involved in that conversation. Similarly, we have to treat the online space with that sort of lens. How do I get into the conversations that are of relevance to me? And how do I engage in those conversations? Direct mail is something that every organization tries to engage with their donors. There are ways that you can make it more dynamic, and we'll talk about that when we discuss our email marketing specifically, and how we can make some of those things better. Galas, you can convert to your live online gatherings, but keep in mind, one thing that is becoming a common occurrence now, and you see the data coming out now talking about it, is this online screen fatigue that people are facing. So many events and so many things are happening that it's all getting lost in the noise. And every day people are sitting at their screens, 8-9 hours of Zoom calls or Teams calls or Google calls, whatever platforms you guys are using, that people are trying to find ways to get off the screens. So there are ways to use it, but you have to use it sparingly. It just cannot become the solution that I used to do 30 live events, so now I have to do 30 online events. It will not have the similar results. And many organizations, especially the larger ones, would go after celebrity endorsements, political endorsements, get some athletes and stuff involved, but there's this big space now of social media influencers. So when we cover some of the crowdfunding strategies and techniques, we will get into some of those areas as well. What I'm going to focus a lot on is these areas. So as I mentioned in the survey earlier, we'll talk about email marketing. I know nobody selected email marketing, but that is a great avenue for you to really retain your existing donor base. There are people that are engaging with your content already. They have donated to you, or they have opted in to receive information from you. So you already have a attentive ear. We have to now use ways to better our approach so that we can get more returns for our fundraising. Conversions on your website visitors. We'll talk about some of our search engine optimizations and things you can do, or your teams that manage these areas can do to help improve that. And we'll quickly cover, I know nobody specifically mentioned social platforms, but there are some ways that we can tap into our social platforms a little bit stronger. Videos, I shared one of the videos with you, but I will talk a little bit more about how you can advertise and use it a little bit stronger. And then personal online fundraising campaigns, crowdfunding, and digital advertising. So we'll cover some of these, inshallah. So getting into our first area, emails. Emails count for 1/3 of all online fundraising revenue. And this is from the M&R benchmark study. I will share some links with Sister Nargis after, if those who like to look at data and research to see what is the trend. And MNR also, what they do is they have United States, so US based organizations, they have Canadian organizations, they have some organizations from Australia that are part of their annual studies, and data is shared with them. And they keep obviously that anonymous. They don't share exactly who it's coming from, but they give you a general consensus of what sort of revenues are coming in. Email sometimes is really underplayed, and organizations use it more so as a loudspeaker. They just keep sharing whatever content they feel needs to be shared. Sometimes you find emails that are really, really, really long, 4 or 5 pages if they were printed, and they're not really capitalizing on the call to action or making sure that they're able to engage. Because if you're getting 1/3, that's the trend right now, 1/3 of all online revenue is coming through your emails. I can speak for this as well. When we would do fundraising, be it with Mercy Mission or Islamic Relief, or now with IDRF, our emails, when they are segmented and targeted to the right audiences, are bearing fruits. And I will get into some of those tips and strategies and tricks with you guys. So first and foremost, by a show of hands, or a raise of a finger or a reaction on here, if you don't want to turn your cameras on, how many of you here have a email marketing list? Anyone?
Does that count for everybody who goes to who the newsletter goes to? Is that our list?
Yeah, so a general list you may have of people that have subscribed online and donated to your organization. You have somewhere that you're keeping a database of people that are engaging with your organization.
Yes, we do, Brother Mahmood.
Okay. And you mentioned Sound Vision. I see a hand up for Sound Vision.
Brother Mahmood, sorry to interrupt, but I have to get off the call for 30 minutes. I have a conflict.
No problem, sure.
I'll join in 30, 40 minutes, inshallah.
Not a worry. Okay, and we see here, I'm just scrolling through here. Okay, nobody else.
Yeah, this is Mohit from MIC. Yeah, we do have our list as well, which we have built over the years, that we use not only for sharing our programs, but also to remind our potential donors of fundraising important timelines as the year end or Ramadan. So we use it for both fundraising as well as for sharing events.
Wonderful. And so I'm just going to call out a few here. Ihsan for Furqan, do you have a mailing list? Okay, he probably is on mute. Okay, so it'd be nice to have some back and forth, so I can tailor this and really cover some of those areas. So I'll go to the next slide. The reason why I ask this is that a lot of organizations have mailing lists, but it's a very general mailing list. They keep it as one large mailing list, and everybody is put into one pool, and you are not segmenting your lists. There are platforms and tools out there like MailChimp, like Constant Contact, and many others. There's many tools out there. And an example you might have is on your website at the bottom, it says, sign up to receive information or our newsletter. A lot of organizational websites have that. And what ends up happening is that goes into your emailing platform, your software, and now they become part of this large general pool. And regardless of what the organization is doing, every single person gets the same email. So that is the practice that's very common, and many organizations do it this way, where it's one large list. Doesn't matter what you engage with, be it year end you gave the donation, or Ramadan, or Qurbani, or for your women's campaign, or your monthly contribution, they're all into the one bucket. Why it's important to segment, and ways you can segment will really take your revenues to new heights. And I will share some statistics and data with you that'll really help you to take this. So if you're not directly responsible for managing your email marketing, this is a conversation that you should have with your teams about working towards segmenting and how do you segment it. And we'll talk about some of those.
I think we have a person whose hands is up. I think Sister Zahira, maybe.
Okay, sure.
I was just mentioning, I used a reaction to show that we do definitely have mailing lists in our organization.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Love that.
So some ways to segment is your desired communication frequency. So you will find, and you have to do your testing. When you send out an email, you will find that some of the recipients of those emails are generally always opening your email and are interacting with your content. You will find them clicking different things in the emails. They've clicked on the link, or they might have clicked on one of your articles and so on. So understanding the desired frequencies that someone prefers, you can also segment your list based on that. So if someone only wants to receive urgent appeals, or only wants to receive content that is beneficial, or they only want to receive programming information, so you can segment your lists. Number two, programming interests. There are a couple of ways to do this. Number one, you might have someone who donated to your Education for Children campaign, and it happens to be, when your conversations, you learned that it's a mother of 3 or 4 kids. So you segment them based on their program interest, which is they like to give towards education campaigns, and B, they are a mother, so they put into a category. So in the future, if you are ever running a campaign for specifically giving out information, or another campaign targeting education or women's rights, or issues that are happening that are pertaining to them, you can then target an audience that is going to be warm to that content. You also should look at segmenting your list based on giving status. And I have found a lot of value in this, where you have donors that may be engaging with you that are regulars who are giving to you every year. And I know a lot of organizations review this on an annual basis. Have we retained these donors? Have they continued to engage with us? But you should also create lists of your donors that are lapsing or are lapsed, or people who are what some we call premium or high value donors, or legacy givers. So this way you're not sending an email where you're asking, let's say, a $60 ask for them to subscribe on a monthly basis. That is maybe the ask you might give to your monthly donors, but someone who's giving you $10, $20, $30,000 of donations, you would want to make that ask more segmented towards their giving level. And you should also, if you can, get to this level based on the softwares you use, roles in the organization. So are they a regular donor? Are they a monthly donor? Are they a volunteer with your organization? Or do they sit on the board? Are they the staff? Because then you have abilities to engage them in many different ways. And reason why segmenting is so important is you get higher response rates, and that's a direct result of segmentation. And research and marketers have found that segmented emails increase revenue by as much as 760%. So if you're making $1 now, if you segment and you start working on segmentation better, you're going to turn that into $7.60 over a little bit of time. It's not going to happen overnight, but this is a practice that we have to bring into our organizations. There are some amazing organizations and examples that are segmenting. I receive their emails and I sometimes wonder, how do they know these are my interests? But that's because based on my giving patterns, they have looked at my giving history. They've probably also looked at content that I've engaged with on the digital platforms, on their sites, on their social media content. And now they are targeting me based on that. So this is very, very important.
If you don't mind, on this segmentation for small organizations, wouldn't it be very expensive to implement it?
Not necessarily. So there are tools, like I'll give you an example, MailChimp. It's all based on number of users that you have on your email database. Now you might be using Constant Contact, or you might be using one of the other platforms. You can segment lists and it's very simple. So I'll use Sound Vision as an example. And then you have Justice for All, and you have a few other projects within the organization that are happening. You might have your the bookstore side of things, or the content side of things. When people engage on your website where they are coming to donate to you, then you put them into a category of these are donors. But if users are coming to your site, they're signing up only to receive information about things that are the injustices that are happening to the Rohingyas, for example, or they're engaging with specifically on topics related to political issues. You create another engagement list. Now, when the issue happened where the migration of the Rohingyas, for example, was a huge thing in the media, that would be an opportunity now to take your segmented list of 100, 200, 500, however many people, to go after them and say, this is the problem we're facing right now. You might do a general one to your mass list, but now you know you have an audience that is specific, who want to be engaged with this cause. So when you make an ask to them, the likelihood of you getting a return would be a lot higher than it going to your general list. So you have to segment it and go after. It's not expensive. It's very, very economical. It's easier to do as well. And I see a hand up from someone here. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm called Sound Vision too. I need to fix that. I work in the children's programming at Sound Vision, and unfortunately, our database is contained in CVCRM, and it is not segmented very well. And so routinely, lots of emails go out to the universe, and that's not good in the long run. Is there any recommendation you have about surveying or stratifying to try to better identify and segment something that's already not been done like that?
Definitely. So there are ways you can start segmenting. One is, now a couple of clarifying questions. So this mass list that you have, emails go out to them periodically, right? So there are emails going out. Some may be fundraising asks and some may not be. So you're sending content that you might engage with. So you will find, and I've not looked at your email, so I'm generalizing here. You might have different click links throughout the email. So you might have an article, you might have a piece written by someone, you might have something that you're selling, and different ways that you have your email laid out. Your service that you're using, does it show you data on what's been clicked in an email?
Some. We're using Salsa, so it can be limited also.
Okay. So one of the great ways to segment without having to ask the people that are on your mailing list of where do you sit, do you want to only receive this, only receive that? Because ultimately, you also want to be able to make decisions based on looking at what they're engaging with, because they might say, I don't want fundraising asks. But you know that the content that you're providing, the stuff they're engaging with, these would be the right people to ask to support something. So you don't want them to be in a category that, no, I don't like fundraising. So you never really approach them for that. The way I would recommend it, and it's going to be a process over time, it's not going to be 100% segmentation overnight, is one of the strategies I've been using with IDRF, and I'll share that with you, is we have a mailing list of thousands and thousands of people, and it didn't used to be segmented, but over the last year and a half, we have been working to segment that. And how have we done that? Number one, based on giving patterns. So looking at our donor data and seeing that some of these individuals always give for a specific region. So they're always giving for African projects. So now I have created one segmentation based on giving pattern. The second is our database did not have demographic information, because a lot of times when you're taking donation, you're not asking for their age and you're not asking for their gender. So you never know where do they sit. So how did we start to figure that out and segment a little bit is you can do your sort of campaigns to engage them. So one of the things we did is we developed different kits and we put them on our website. And we said that if you are a parent and you want some content for your children to engage this Ramadan, please sign up here and we'll send you a really large package of stuff for your children. And and we get their email, we get their name. So now we compared that to our database, and we know that this person is already a donor with our organization and they are a parent. And from the name, we were able to segment them a little. So there's a few layers of things you would have to do. My recommendation is to use softwares that are going to help you segment some of these things and look at patterns. I've been using MailChimp in many organizations that I've been in, and I find their tools to be very supportive. Constant Contact is another one that I know people are raving about and talk about. That is great. And you probably also have certain people who are giving just in Ramadan. So you are engaging them very heavily in Ramadan. And we are all culprits to this. There's no segmentation for any organization in Ramadan. Everybody goes after everyone. And that's a very wide casting approach. Let's just throw as many darts as we can and see how many of them land. But when you focus, like we have in organizations on the ground efforts, people focus just on major gifts, or people focus just on planned giving. Why are these things important? Is because you are very much focused on, these are the sectors or people I have to focus on, and the results are high. Same applies in our online game and online approach. So it's not easy. I don't know the tools that you mentioned specifically, but I'm sure if it's a reputable marketing platform, that you should be able to create multiple lists within it.
Thank you.
No problem. That's number. So number 2 is timing of emails.
Oh, there's actually one more question, Omaya.
Okay, go ahead.
Right, late. I got confused between CST and EST, so my apology. I'm catching up. The question that I have for you, and I'm here, like I'm very close to ISNA Canada, so I'll be speaking with the ISNA Canada experience in mind. Now, the question that I have on like segmentation is like, we already use like MailChimp, and we have like various groups of, I'm gonna call it communication, and fundraising is like a purpose, like for like a goal for a communication goal that we have too. So the question that I have is like, is segmentation so we can take like a deeper dive into our like donor base and like try to sort of like inform them or give them the information based on their interest. Like we're trying to understand them and understand their interest level, right? Like you mentioned, like if they're a parent, for example, we will let them know about what we have for parenting, right? So and for example, if they are like, their heart is with the youth, we will communicate to them about that specifically. So we're not really like wasting their time with unnecessary information that they don't care about. For example, like a letter that goes to our members, for example.
Right.
Our donors not necessarily interested in that, right? So not all of them anyway. So is this like the purpose that we're trying, like you're trying like using this segmentation to strengthen the relationship and take it to a deeper level? Is this like the purpose?
So number 1 with segmentation, it is, you are engaging with a lot warmer of an audience. So ISNA is an example. ISNA is a, and I'm assuming you're from ISNA Canada or ISNA US, which side?
No, ISNA Canada.
Okay, so I know ISNA Canada. I mean, I grew up there, especially in the ICC location. So understanding your organization, you have a school, you have a mosque, you have halal certification, you have counseling services, you have youth programming, you have Sunday school, you have after school programming, you have a bunch of different services that you're engaging and providing to the community. When it comes to fundraising, the part that usually people focus on is the 27th night, 25th night, 23rd night, whichever one of the nights the mosque does a large fundraising event for the center itself. Now, all the data that you gather from that night or those 5-6 nights of fundraising, you can now create a segmented list that these are mosque supporters. These individuals strongly believe in supporting the work of this organization in Ramadan and throughout. However, you might have some parents who are just engaging with this center for Sunday school. So having a segmented list of Sunday school parents who are bringing their children at all times for different things. When you offer youth programming that's outside of the Sunday school, you know that the audience that will probably engage with that content more than the general list is the parents who are bringing their kids to these things. Whereas someone who might be signing up for your counseling services or coming to meet the imams for different things, when you're offering workshops that are related to counseling or therapy or marriage or parenting or whatever the case may be, you have another list that is a lot warmer. What we end up doing as organizations is we think, okay, well, all of these segments fit into the general mailing list. So why segment in the first place? Like, we'll just blast everybody. But the reason is, and we'll talk about this, is that the subjects and what you say in the email have a lot to do with if a person will or will not engage with your content. If it's always understood by this person receiving this email that it's going to be another general email, it's going to be another fundraising ask, the likelihood of them probably not opening it is very high. So segmentation, the results of segmentation are higher open rates. You're actually talking to a person who's interested in your service. Look at it from a retail kind of space, right? When I'm walking in a mall and I'm just window shopping, I'm not actually going into the store, then the sales rep is probably not going to approach me. They're not going to walk out of the store, come outside and try to bring me in. But if I'm in the store, if I walk into that store, then they know there's a chance, there's a likelihood that I am interested in something that is in that location. So looking at this from an online world, you have a person who's walked into your location, who has engaged with certain programming that you engage in. The likelihood of them engaging with that program again is much higher than you trying to do a wide cast and go after everybody over and over. It takes more resources, more time, more costs, and you can reduce a lot of those by segmenting.
I just had a question actually. I'm from CCMW again.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so we are on the verge of getting a new database, Donor Perfect, and we feel that sometimes may not be able to capture the change that our donors have. So let's say you have a donor who's a student, but has changed and has become employed. So how often do you need to kind of update your database, and what is a good way to do that? Like, so how do you ask the donors the right questions, and how often?
Yeah, it's that is a struggle everybody faces. So no organization is capturing your like employment status or education status when you're filling out a donation form. But that's work that your teams and staff and people would have to do in research. So we have tools and platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and other tools. And there are actually tools out there that'll break down the donors in US specifically. I know I was helping an organization in the US and I found that the public data available to US organizations is a lot more than what's available to Canadian organizations. I found in one of the donor management platforms, when I was looking at their data, they had information like which charities they donate to outside of their own charity, what political campaigns have they donated to, what properties do they own, and these are things that are getting pulled from the public records. Unfortunately, in Canada, we don't have that much detail from where people are giving. We can see what organizations are doing, but individuals, it's tough. So the ways you would have to clean your data, it's a ongoing process. In our organization, we have someone who is on a monthly basis going into the database, looking at duplicate records, removing those, fixing up, spelling issues, making sure those things are clean, looking at, is there relationship links? So you see two addresses that are matching up. Okay, is that an error, or is there actually a relationship there? Is it a husband and a wife, or a mother and a father? Or you have to always be looking at improving the data that you have. Inputs will result in outputs, right? So if the inputs are flawed, the things that you have in your database are incorrect, then the outputs that come out and the fundraising results that come out are going to be based on the inputs that you put in. So my recommendation is it has to be a process. You have to do some research. When you get into the thousands and thousands of donors, it becomes hard for you to maybe know the status change of every single individual, but the approach I would take is breaking it up. 70% of your donors are probably not in your premium category, and you might have 20 to 30% who are giving certain levels of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 or more. You might start with them first because they're making up a large chunk of your revenue coming in. So you say, I want to know these donors better, assign it to a volunteer or a staff or someone to look further on LinkedIn, look at their professional networks, look at what data you can find online in the public space before getting into reaching out to the donor, asking for information that they might feel, what's the need? Why do they need to know my employment status or my marital status or and so on and so forth? So do as much as you can. In a non-COVID world, one of the things I used to do is whenever I met someone who was a donor face to face and I would have a conversation, I would take certain inputs that I received from them. If they're talking about, oh, I graduated from here and I used to work here, and I make notes of these things. So when I go back and I speak to our team, I can say, hey, here's some other information I found about this donor. Many of us let those things just go in conversation. We don't remember these things, but if you're in the space of fundraising, you always have to have a ear out for these things. You might hear certain interests they share. You find that every time you go to their city, they're always inviting you to the same coffee shop or the same restaurant. So you learn about certain preferences and interests that they have. So it's a lot of back and forth. And for people in leadership positions who are always meeting donors, that is something that you have to also incorporate into your online strategy. Take the offline information, bring it to your online teams, and make sure they're integrating that in. All right. So I want to cover the email section before we take a break. So I have about 6 or 7 slides. And if it's email pertaining questions, let me cover this. And right at the end, you can ask all your questions before we take your break. Timing of email. This is an area of discussion many organizations have. When should I send the email? Should I send it in the morning? Should I send it in the evening? Should I send it on a weekend? What's a good time? This guesswork for a lot of organizations is slowly being removed because of tools that are providing you data on when your emails are being opened. So the software that we use tells us that you can send this email now, or you can send this email based on the data we have about this individual and when they're likely to open their emails. So that's one way. The other way is you looking at it from an A/B test approach. So the way an A/B test works is you're not sure if an email is open in the morning or open in the evening, or in Ramadan, should you be doing it closer to iftar times or something? When should you be doing it? You can slowly build that data, and it's not going to be some science that is proven it's going to be at this time. You can send some emails in the morning, some in the evening, and you can look at the open rate and see what the open rate was on average. Or you could do, in specifically Ramadan, many of us send 10, 15, 16, 20 emails in that month. It's bombarded. And you'll find that every organization is doing it. You're not the only one. So in an inbox, if everybody says, hey, we're going to send our emails on Jummah, because Friday everybody feels a little bit more pumped, they're feeling a little bit more religious, and we're going to send it right before Friday prayer. So that could be a strategy you use to say they're already in that mode, let me send the email. But if you're thinking this way, there's probably 5, 6, 7 others that are also. So you have to look at the open rates you're finding, and many of the tools will show you an email goes out, you might have a huge spike in the open rate in the first hour or two, and then it slowly starts to decline. And you find only maybe 10% or 15% of the people ultimately ended up opening that email. Another strategy that you should look at is, how do we engage with those 80, 90% of the people who did not open our email? Why did they not open it? Was there something that we did that was not to their liking? This is where then you can take an email, that same email, change the subject line, change who it came from, or change some of the content or how it's laid out, and send it back out to those that did not open. So you're not bothering them. They haven't opened your previous email.
See if anything you've done that's different that is resulting in now this group opening that email. And that'll give you an understanding of what things need to improve and what timings would work best. Subject lines, usually overlooked. It's made into a sentence sometimes where all you see is a big narrative, ... People are unsure, should I even click this email or not? But 33% of all recipients decide whether they're going to open your email based on the subject line. Can you believe 1 out of every 3 people is going to decide if they're going to open or not open your email based on just the subject itself? And I get hundreds and hundreds of emails, and I'm sure you do as well. So if you're scrolling through your inbox, you're going to look at subject lines that really resonate and that sound important and that sound like they're more personalized than those that are saying 50% off, sign up now, come here and we'll help you. Something that is not really engaging is not going to get my attention to click on it. But if it's coming and it's sounding like a subject line that is directly talking to me as a recipient, then more likely that I will open it. And I'll show some examples of that when we get into some of the examples of the emails. So a couple of ideas you could use. One thing that you find that has worked for multiple organizations, I looked at some emails from Plan, from Oxfam, Save the Children, World Vision, some of the ones that shared their data, is that asking a question is a great way to engage that individual. So, or saying something like, you made this possible, or something that is really capturing as an individual their attention to get into opening that email. Number 2, you want to keep the subject line short. I'm finding in a lot of our organizations, there is this tendency to think that, well, let me get it all into the subject, because if they don't open it, at least they know what we're talking about. But that's not a good strategy. You want to keep it short, and you want to keep it ideally under 15 characters, and that's based on looking at optimal views for mobile, but also on desktop. You want to make sure that it's catching attention. And you want to express some urgency. You want to show in your email that there is some level of urgency, important, urgent, emergency, like, appeals that you're doing, help needed, need your help, or anything along those lines that's going to really capture their attention. Personalization is also extremely important. Now, what we find ourselves doing with emailing lists is we write up a general email, we press send, it goes to everybody. Tools now give you the option of taking the first name, last name, entering other fields that will help you to make it more personalized, where we have in our database put certain experiences or certain things that they've donated for. So if an email goes out, it might say, dear so-and-so, thank you for engaging and giving us a donation for XYZ. It made a huge impact. Here's something that we'd like to share with you that you've done. So it sounds very, very personalized, but it's coming from a mailing platform. And all that data can be pulled by these tools, and it can then personalize it. It also has an impact. So 10%, you can increase your open rate and the impact that it has on that conversion by 10% just by personalizing it. Dear John, dear Mahmoud, dear Ahmed, even those basic personalizations make it a bit more meaningful. Now, your email should not just be a huge dump of everything your organization is doing, especially if you're trying to fundraise. You have to go at it from a lens of storytelling. You have to empathize, and the audience has to empathize with the content that you are sharing. They have to be able to connect with that story. So, we have organizations here that are specifically focusing on women's causes or Black Canadian Muslims or focusing on charitable efforts. You have to storytell and share so that the person, that me receiving that email, I can empathize with what I'm reading or who I'm screening, and I can connect with it. People donate to be part of something. They want to belong. They want to have involvement. So you have to make the reader feel like they're part of this cause. And it's always good to have a character so the person can relate and they can look at certain matching aspects, maybe the demographic, they're the same age. You might find that there are certain pain points that resonate with that individual. If you're sending emails to mothers and you happen to be also a mother yourself, you could share a personal story in that email. If you're writing content for youth, you could share a case study of a youth who's dealing with certain issues or facing certain problems. If you are here a relief organization, you can share a case study of someone from the field in Africa who is walking hundreds of miles to fetch water. So people can look at the cause, the issue, they can empathize, but you can also bring hope and a message of positivity. And you can help change lives. You've heard this. This is a comment and an issue that you see a lot. Images. I looked at some of the emails from organizations that are here, from what I could find online, and I'm finding there is a lot of use of stock photography or animations, or not really images that are pulling in the heartstrings. So if you really want to improve your email capture, try your best to use images that are from your programs, that are good quality and that are going to drive emotion. In fundraising, there's always this discussion on, should I be going with stark or should I be going with happy? What works, what doesn't? That's going to be a conversation for the ages. There's always going to be people on both sides of the camp. Both drive emotions. So looking at the message that you're sharing, what is the content that you've written? The imagery should match that content. If you have a smiling face and a person that is, laughing, you're getting this emotion of joy and happiness. But when I read the content, it's stark and it's talking about a grim situation and very difficult situation. The two don't connect. So you have to make sure you're tugging on the heartstrings of the audience and you're using imagery that is relating to your content. And don't just use logos. That's something that a lot of organizations used to do, is just a logo, a bunch of font, and then the footer. You have to add some more elements to your email. And as I mentioned already, stock photography, we have to really try and move away from that. Try to use people, try to use faces, and try as much as possible where the image is able to connect and look, you can see the eyes of the individual or the person or the animal, whichever the case may be. And single person or single people in the shot, so you don't have to navigate and figure out the rest of the image. It really plays a huge role in capturing that audience. I know for fundraising, this is something that people might wonder, but short and sweet and to the point works. I have done testing after testing. I've looked at data from multiple organizations. Long emails are not the answer. You might have a lot to say or share, but when you're trying to make a fundraising ask, you have to be concise and to the point, and you have to make the ask. Like you learn in sales, you have to ask for the close. You can't leave it in their hands. In fundraising, you have to do the same. It should be 2 to 4 paragraphs, maximum, medium-sized paragraphs, not large ones. And you should have a call to action where there should be a clear button or a clear statement that makes it known to the reader, what is it that you're asking for? Okay, and here's an example. So Giving Tree, they made a call out for volunteers, made it very clear that what they're looking for and how a person can help is sign up to become a volunteer for one of their growing sessions. A call to action. A call to action doesn't always have to be donation. It can be a donation through hours or skill-based training. Some of the organizations here use a lot of people to help their work. The call to action should be very clear to engage with in your emails. Sender also matters. And many platforms and softwares will allow you to change the name of the person that it's coming from. So you might be sending emails from info@organization.com. You can look at changing that once in a while, especially when you're launching a new campaign. maybe the executive director or the director of your programs or your community fundraiser or someone is being used as the name, the call to action is clear and the subject is clear that it's coming from me as an individual. And the content should also then be written in that person's voice. And you will find that making this change once in a while in the content that you're sending out will increase the likelihood of it being opened. And data suggests that as well. 68% of people will decide if they will even open your email based on the sender. So 2 out of every 3 people will look at the name first. Where is it coming from? If it says organization name and they're not really linked to somebody specifically in that organization, whereas the email came from Mahmoud, the likelihood of them clicking it if they know me or know they want to read something I have shared is likelihood that they're going to open it is going to be higher. So you have to play around, and all your emails can't just go from your info at account, or you have to involve different team members, board members, and it has to be consented by that individual that you're using. You can't just make it up one day and say, you know, Muhammad Ahmed is sending you this email. You have to make sure Muhammad is actually sending that email. Mobile. So we are going to look at some sites after the email covering that we do. I have looked at some of your websites. Mobile optimization of your emails is critical. I have multiple examples on my phone of emails that I open because I like the subject, but as soon as I open it, it just reads tiny, tiny, tiny font. I can't see it. It hasn't been optimized for me to read it on my mobile phone. And over half of the emails are now opened on your phones first. So if you're not writing your emails to have them optimized so that for desktop, it's giving you a clear view, and then for mobile, you're getting a clear view, you're losing 1 out of every 2 people who could be engaging with your content. So for mobile, you want to have it in a single column layout. You don't want to have multiple columns because everybody does a scroll on emails. They don't go side to side. And Surface at one point, you know, Microsoft Surface at one point tried, and they got into this whole side swiping websites, but that didn't last long because you found that the natural tendency for people is to scroll up and down. And for emails, that's the case. You also want to make sure your images resize in mobile view as well as in desktop view. You have to have that fluidity, and email softwares do that for you. And many of the softwares will give you a preview before you send it out. So please, if you're not using a software and you're just using Outlook or one of your mailing softwares, you know, they automatically, if you're just sending text, you will receive it perfectly fine. But if you are going to be growing your organization, I highly recommend you have a software that is going to manage your email database and that will optimize it for you for mobile viewing. Okay, so here's an example I want to share with everyone. I know nobody here is from a wildlife foundation or anything, so I guess this would be a great example. So number 1, it's personalized. Dear John, the image that you're seeing, and maybe you're not an animal lover, but you can see here that this is something to do with leopards. And the call on the image is very clear. Wildlife needs you now. And the question is being posed to me right away. Will you help? Okay. So right away, I know there's a problem. They need my help. And they've referred to me directly, Dear John. And if you read this email, you'll see that there is a storytelling element, and you don't have to scroll far to be able to engage with them. And if you need to learn more, you can click on a hyperlink that'll take you into learning more about the cause. So let's look at this. Like all snow leopard cubs, this cub was blind at birth. Its eyes opened when it was a week old. It will be dependent on its mother until it's at least 1 year old. Imagine if this beautiful cub were orphaned today. Tragically, a snow leopard is illegally killed each and every day. There are now fewer than 6,500 left in the wild. From poaching to deforestation to climate change, nature around the world faces serious threats. You can help. John, will you act now to stop threats to nature and protect life on our planet? with a monthly gift to sustain our global conservation work. With your ongoing support, you will create a safer world for wildlife, protect amazing places, and help build a future where people will live in harmony with nature. Clear call to action, and they want you to become a supporter of their work. Now, many of us will take a fundraising ask, have it at the top, and then we'll have probably 6, 7, 8 segments in that email at the bottom. And by the time you scroll through, you may have lost that user or that reader. You want to make your fundraising email short, sweet, and to the point, and asking people to engage with a clear call to action. All right. So that is the email component. I know we have taken quite a bit of time to go over that. I have a lot of information still to cover, but we'll ask some questions or give some opportunity for questions now. We're going to take a 10-minute break after that, and then we'll resume with the second section. So any questions, please go ahead. Go ahead, Noor Jahan.
Hi, it's Firdaus again. I just wanted to know, is there any research to show how often donors want to hear from you?
Yeah, so I'll share a couple of the benchmark studies that are there, but it all depends on the size of the organization. So if you're a small organization and your database is very personalized and majority of them then the likelihood of you sending more frequent emails is higher. As the larger you become and the more your mailing donor database is spread out all over the place, then the frequency of emails starts to reduce. So I'll share the links with Sister Nargis to share with all the participants here. So you can go and look at specifically related to your industries and looking at how other organizations are structuring some of their emails.
I'm sorry, I was muted before.
Yeah, no
Can
problem.
I ask a question now?
Go ahead.
All right. So I volunteer for a very small charity organization called Muslim Community Support Services. And every time a question comes of using pictures, there is always this hesitation that a person may not, somebody who received rental help or assistance with food may not want to be photographed. And asking permissions and then doing it. So our websites just don't have pictures because of this issue. Is there any suggestion on that?
Yeah, I know with sensitivity, specifically in support services where you cannot, share the beneficiaries' photos, that is a limitation that's definitely there. But you have to find workarounds. So I'll give you an example of an organization, National Zakat Foundation. So I've seen some of their emails where they use images that have been drawn or put together that is captivating and catches the attention. It's not always an individual's face or one of their recipients. So in places where you're limited, that you cannot show for protection reasons, and you're providing social services, you can't show their faces, that is where you can look at other avenues. Now, I thought you were going down the line of like the religious angle, no faces and all of that, but
No. I mean, that too is a point, but we were more thinking about just not violating the privacy of the person because our lists are confidential.
Yeah.
And I think that the person also asked that question about frequency. So I'm sure you will come to that. But you made a point that one really should look at the pattern of who donates when and all that. Yeah, of course, we want to go after those who are donating frequently, but at what time do you discontinue when you somebody hasn't donated for like 5 years, then or do you just suggest to leave them? It doesn't harm anything.
Well, there are laws and rules in place now of when you can solicit certain donors or people that have engaged with your organization. So In North America, there are rules that if someone donates to your organization, you have up to 2 years to have them opt in to become part of your constant reach out to them. However, I know this is not a practice everyone follows. So you might have a large mailing list, but not a single person has opted in to wanting to receive. You might have, this used to be very common practice like 5, 6 years ago. You reach out to a friend, you ask for them, hey, give me your emails, and then you dump it into a platform and you start contacting them. And then later somehow you find out, how did they get my email? That's being removed now for protection of individuals. You don't want unsolicited stuff. So it's a 2 year, you have up to 2 years to try and get that individual to opt in. Now, if that person donates again next year, that
Yeah.
2 year period opens. That becomes another 2 years. So you have to continuously update that list. Lapsed and super lapsed. These are the two categories that I consider. So lapsed is, let's say, someone who did not give last year, and super lapsed is someone who did not give 2 years and 2 years ago. Prior to that, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, um, it's the same as almost an acquisition strategy because they have not engaged with your organization now for 2 years or more. So sending them emails over and over is not going to result in any change. You might have to hit them through other avenues or go after them through, personal social media approach where another person who they may know is vouching for you and building your credibility with them. So there are different ways that we have to approach those individuals. The frequency.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the question is that on one hand, we want to go after the lapsed donors to see if we can have them back. On the other hand, after 2 years, you have to discontinue if they haven't donated. So that seems to be a little bit catch-22 here.
So you have, any organization will run two simultaneous things, retention and acquisition, right? So you will always have two things happening. Throughout the year, I find, and this is a common thing you hear from donors, is people only engage with us when they want money, period. That's the only thing we see with this organization. Every email I receive, they're asking for money. Every time they call me, they're asking for money. So you have to become more than just an organization. When you send emails, that is always just asking for money. You have to have the patterns, like Ramadan for many organizations is a fundraising month because the likelihood of somebody giving is high. Tax season, where people are trying to get their donations in. Before that, you might also run fundraising. Qurbani for the relief organizations might be a busy period because they're trying to. But then you have 9 months out of the year where you have to do emails, engagements, phone calls, whatever methods you use, that is not always asking for money. So that's number one on increasing retention. The more you increase retention and you focus on retention, and this is a common, I did a focus group with about 50 donors to ask about what is one thing they would like to see improving in the organization. And the common thing was, when we give donations, we'd like to know better how our money is being spent, right? What did the focus become? The focus became, teams, I don't want you asking right now donors for money. I want you to pull out the data of all the donors we've worked with last year. What did they give for? Now I'm going to produce, or get my marketing teams and my volunteers to produce reporting on how was their money spent? What did we do with their funds? Because building trust with your existing donor base is most important, and it is cheaper for you to retain a donor than to acquire a donor. You're going to spend a lot more money bringing in new donors. Creating a report and sending that to the individual, following up to say, hey, we wanted to share with you how we spent your money. Our retention rates almost doubled within a year because people were happier to see that we were reporting back on how their money was spent. We were engaging with them outside of just asking for money all the time, sharing some articles, sending them things of benefit. So that way it wasn't always about engaging. you will always have a turnover. Nobody's going to have 100% retention. And that's why I shared that video in the beginning, because I found that lady really funny. That she said, we'd love to have you coming back and support. She said, oh no, I only gift an organization once. I don't want you to become dependent on us. That is like a very common thing in the charitable space. There is no loyalty when it comes to who you give to. People are cause driven. People are giving based on what they resonate with. And if something moves an individual, they're going to give. So you always have to have acquisition strategies. You're going to have to cast a net out through the other tools we're going to talk about to bring more people into your organization. So as you're having attrition, where, if you're looking at it from a barrel, you have a hole at the bottom that's dripping through slowly, you're losing some water, but you also have to continue adding water at the top. So you're keeping that level somewhere in the balance. You're never going to have 100% retention rates. It's just not heard of unless somebody here has it. That would be the first. But there has to be that balance. So yes, you should focus on your lapsed donors. You should run campaigns to get them back. And some of the ways you can get a lapsed donor back is look at, did I run a similar campaign to what they had donated to in the past? And if you find you've stopped doing that, or they only came in for a specific cause and now they've stopped engaging, then the likelihood of you getting them back for something now, if your mandate has changed or your organization is going in a different direction, would be highly unlikely. Super lapsed, you go back 2-3 years. Did this individual used to give to us because of, they owned a business or they had something, and now based on you, from one call, you find out they don't have that business anymore, they don't run that, so their financial positions might have changed and they don't have the capacity to be able to give to you anymore. So do I want to continue sending them email after email after email to say, please give, please give, please give? There is going to be a time where you have to take people off your mailing lists and you have to clean that up and bring in new donors who are going to give. So
Mahmoud, do we have time for 2 more questions, really quick ones before
yeah,
break?
sure, go ahead. Before I take the question though, just a comment on the lists. You might have 500 people, you might have 1,000 people, you might have 20,000 people. But if you ask anybody who is managing those lists, every time an email goes out, you will find some unsubscribes. That's going to happen, right? You're going to have people who leave because that is just the way this works, just like in face-to-face. Not everybody's going to engage with your content. Not everybody's going to like to hear everything. And it's possible one email might put them off and they might say, I don't want any more emails. They might have liked 9 of your other emails. So there's always going to be this effort of bringing and acquiring new donors and bringing them in through the other channels that we'll talk about. There's a hand up from Umaya.
I just have a question about videos. Like, do you have any like benchmark information about like the effectiveness, especially now with the pandemic and the social? There's a huge competition for people's attention, I find, right? Like you receive thousands of emails. And so do you see like having a video will give you like an edge? Is it really effective? Because like, to produce a value or a quality video, it incur a cost too, right? And there's a lot of work that needs to go into it if you really wanted to have it like effective and to carry the message forward, right? So do you see that is like like give you an edge kind of thing? Is it like a more effective than just like an email or a picture?
So an email is going to be landing in the mailboxes of different types of audiences, right? You might have a demographic that you're serving that goes from the age of 16 to 70, hypothetically. You might have some donors who are engaging with you that are young, and you might have some who are engaging with you that are old. The consumption of information by different age groups is done in different platforms and different medias. Not everybody wants to read text. Not everybody wants to understand your message just through plain text. So having different platforms and avenues available for them to see a picture. If you have video, you might using sparingly You might not want to have a video in every single email. But for your main campaigns, you might decide, you know what, this is a main campaign. We've invested into this. We want more eyes to see it. Then you can focus on having videos that can go out. Keep in mind, though, the video is not going to play in the email. It's going to link to somewhere else,
I
right?
understand.
So
I understand. The question, one more question. Is there, from your experience, is there like an age group who would be like more like using the video or looking at it, that we need to look at that segment? Like, or do you think just like when you do a video, just send it to everybody?
So the video in and of itself doesn't have an age group, but the message of the video or how it's presented is looked at differently by different age groups. So if it's a very hype video and trying to, drive this like movement sort of mindset, you might have some of the younger audiences who resonate better. You might have content-driven videos where it's informative and explaining what your programs are, almost like a visual annual report, for example. You might find the older audiences are resonating better with it. Not one size fits all in any of these platforms. So social media, though, as we mentioned earlier, you can have that one-to-one approach. And the benefit then of segmenting would be when you do your email segmenting, you know your audience's interests, likes, dislikes. You can target them and send the right videos for those audiences, and you can send the right content for those audiences. So the answer to your question is a video specifically more engaging to one audience over the other. There are Facebook data, there is some YouTube data, but it all comes down to what is the message of that video. All right, so was there any more questions? I think there's Sister Zahira.
Yeah, I just had a couple of comments related to the photos piece. The question about showing personal data if you're doing social service work. Remember, you can take pictures of your staff interacting with folks, and you could have the actual clients shown from the back, or you can just show hands, or you can just show the amount of donations you've amassed to distribute. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can take pictures that don't necessarily have to identify your clients or consumers. The other thing I wanted to mention is personalization is really important, but it depends upon the integrity of your database. I've gotten emails myself where my last name and first name were transposed. And so rather than feeling like a personal message, it felt like they didn't do a very good job with the mass email. And so it kind of backfires. Yeah. And the last thing I wondered if you could just mention is that with emails, and particularly regular distribution of newsletters or things like that, there has to be an unsubscribe button, so that it's really important when you're sending emails that you're using that type of formatting that allows someone to unsubscribe.
Yes, that's a very good point. So you have to have that footer, which is provided mostly with most of these softwares. It's automated, it's there, subscribe, remove from list, do not contact, all of that is there. But if you're doing it through your own Google or whatever, you have to have that option for people to be able to unsubscribe. Okay, we went a lot longer on just this one category than I wanted to. So we're going to take a short break. Sister Nargis, how long?
Well, initially it was going to be 10 minutes because people need to pray, but if you think you can all come back in 5, then we can continue, because apparently we don't want to go over the time, but there's a lot to cover.
Yes. Okay. So
5 minutes okay with everyone?
5 minutes. Okay.
That's going to be a fast prayer.
So 10 after 3, we'll be back.
Yeah, Zohar can't be read in 5 minutes.
7.
7 minutes. All right. Thank you.
7. Okay.
12 after 3.
Okay.
All right. So I will ask. I know there's a lot of content to cover, so I will try and move through this because I know there were some areas specifically with website conversions that wanted some attention. So I will cover this, and if you have questions, write them down so that we can, when we get into the questions section, we can then cover those, because I'd like to cover some of this content with you all and hopefully you can take some benefit from it. So number one thing that we look at when it comes to our websites, and I will share some screens with you guys on, with everybody here, all the folks here, on websites I looked at and some of the things we can improve. So one thing is you have to make sure your donation button is in a prominent location in your site navigation. Okay, your donor website, your website has to be, if you're trying to raise funds specifically on your website, there has to be a prominent location, be it on one page or multiple pages or in the navigation menu bar at the top, a very clear and visible donate option. In your top carousel, so the images that are moving, there should be fundraising campaigns that are promoted, and you should also look at updating and making sure your website is optimizing based on the different ways people are engaging with the site. So mobile use is increasing every day. More and more people are checking out things on their phones, donating through their phones. So you want to have an optimized website for mobile, for tablets, and for different screen sizes. So I'm going to share with you a picture of a mobile version and a desktop version of a website that I looked at, and I found it to be very, very well done. Number one thing was on their main page, they have multiple, on their non-mobile, so the one on the right, they have multiple ways you can give. They have a carousel that moves at the top, and they've already moved into their Ramadan sort of campaigns. The donate button is clearly visible, but you can also make a donation right there by entering an amount. They've gone a bit advanced. So when you go to your mobile version of the site, the experience on the mobile version is different than the experience on the desktop version. So the website changes. You see the option for you to open up the menu at the top, but then there's a kind of overlay screen at the bottom where if you wanted to donate specific things, you can engage regardless of which page you land on. I also found from some of the people that are attending the training, so I went on the Helping Hands website and I found clear call to actions on their website, and I found that their mobile optimization was also very clean. So you had a carousel with a quick donate option that was showing up. You have a donate now where you can engage with the content right away. Similarly with the ICNA website, ICNA Relief USA website, carousel, give your zakat locally, very clear call to action with a visible donate button. And I was playing around with their donation section with a shopping cart system that they have. You can add multiple donations. But then if you look at the mobile experience, you find that the website, majority of it is mobile optimized, but you see here that the carousels are not changing or not really updating with the rest of the website. So it's shrinking this here into a full size view. So this is something new, website strategies and things are suggesting that you should do something like these where the image shrinks as you are using it on mobile. Just like here, you're finding on the main, you're seeing a certain part of the image, but on the mobile, you're seeing a more shrunk or more visible face and so on. It's not trying to fit the entire thing onto your phone screen. Okay, and then I looked at some that could improve and that could become better at optimizing on mobile. So Smile has a very clean call to action on their website if you go on the desktop view, but if you go to mobile view, there is a need for strengthening and bettering the mobile experience because you find it's taking the whole website and shrinking it into onto your phone screen. And your developers can update the plugins depending on what you've built your website on. But you have to, as organizations, look at if over 50% of traffic to your site is coming through mobile, you don't want to have a experience that they're going to have to pinch and zoom and scroll left to right and figure things out. So everybody should take some time and look at their websites and see if they are optimized for website viewing. How to improve the donation process. Now, actually, before we go there, yeah.
Can you just tell us what was the website for the one that Ramadan Inspires Change? Just what organization? Yeah.
This one,
Yes.
this is Penny Appeal.
Penny Appeal. Okay, thanks.
But multiple organizations have good ones. I only picked, one, but there's so many good ones, and it all comes down to really making sure it's mobile optimized. So you want to be able to have a different experience, or even an experience that is visible. Like Smile's work and Smile's ranking on desktop is extremely high because they've done a really nice site for people to engage from a desktop perspective. But now with mobile, it needs a few updates and plug-in changes potentially to bring it up to mobile friendliness. All right, so donation page changes. Your donation pages should also be mobile responsive. I found with some of the websites I went to on desktop, very clean, easy to access, go through step by step. But then on mobile, it's the same website, donation form shrunk. So you have to zoom in, you have to click on the different tabs. So you want to make sure your donation pages are also mobile responsive. You want to use clear headlines, value propositions, and images, same as emails. You want to do that on your donation, on your websites and your donation pages. And your overall message on other platforms should match your donation page. This is something, there has to be that congruency, and the messaging needs to be the same. So if I'm reading a post and I like what I read, and it says here, click here to engage, and I click on that, it should be taking me to the page where the message is continuing forward. It shouldn't be taking me to something completely different. Now I have to figure out where to go. And your website needs to have good photos, so it helps move the needle on the donations. The trends that are happening with some of the donation pages, and I'll show you some examples, are to move to a more clutter-free, clean, multi-step, and also mobile responsive page. So here's an example that I found for Oxfam, where very clean, and if you go to mobile, the way they've built this is if you shrink it down to mobile, it also shows very clean like this. You see it, you could do one time or monthly, pick an amount, fill it out. Charity Water is another one where the website is built in a way where you have imagery and you can choose an amount. Many of the things here you see, you're thinking, well, I don't have donor info, I don't have anything. But as soon as you hit donate, this is where the multi-step comes in. It takes you now to the next section. And now you know that there's a donor interested in giving 100. And if they jump off or they come off the website, through cookie capturing and remarketing and stuff, you can probably re-engage. And we're going to talk about some of those steps. But having a clean donation form experience is critical. I also pulled up an example from a large charity in our country, in Canada, United Way. And I found that, their donation, yes, it's mobile optimized, but the experience looks a little bit older and a bit harder. So when I would see a page like this, I would right away wonder, do I need to, what is it linked to? It's not really driving any emotion. I have to click on a different button to go to the recurring donation or monthly donation. So this is something that we can look at improving. All right. And when we talk about specifically the website improvement, and I'll get into it when we talk about search engine optimization, one of the things we have to also look at is putting our website through tools that Google and other platforms are providing that'll tell you how do you make your website better. What are the slowdowns? What are the areas that are causing your website to have less traffic or slower traffic or higher bounce rates? And you can improve on those. So I'm going to play a video. I know there's sound issues for some, but we're going to play it anyways. We're going to move on. If you're having technical difficulties hearing it, no problem. I'll share these slides with Nargis that she can share them with you all to watch it again. So search engine optimization for a lot of us is a confusing area. It's unclear. What does that even mean? So there's a short video that'll break it down for everybody, and then I will give some tips on that.
चलो जाओ आप शहरों में से
All right. So for those of you who heard the audio, um, SEO is a search engine optimization. It is constant art. You have to continuously be doing it. It's not a one-time thing. You have to have teams that are always looking at your website and finding ways to improve it. And one of the most important things is making sure that your site is updated on a regular basis. So you are putting fresh content out. And examples here, for example, CCMW, if you are producing content that is relevant to the readers, putting that out there and sharing it on different platforms, having other websites share it, and linking back to your site will increase the popularity of those things, or those articles, or that content to bring people to your website. The group from I think it was called Black Canadian Muslims. If you are writing specifically on social justice or topics, having other websites host your content, linking to content from subject matter experts, so there's multiple backlinks happening to different areas, will slowly and slowly build your ranking. You're not going to get into the first page rankings on a topic where you might have just created a brand new page. It's going to take time. It's going to take years maybe to move into first, second, third page. And that is where you find a lot of organizations getting into the paid keyword searches. And when we talk about paid advertising, we're going to look at that. Speeding up your website. Google Page Speed Insights is a tool that I highly recommend. And I want one volunteer here to give me their website URL.
My myvoicecanada.com.
My Voice Canada. So myvoicecanada.com.
Yep.
All right, everyone. We're all gonna. I don't know if you can see my screen actually. Hold on. Google Chrome, share. You can see my Google Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's right now it's analyzing myvoicecanada.com. So a tool like this will help you understand what are some areas that you're doing really well in, and what are things that Google is seeing that you need to improve on, and it's going to give you those recommendations. So there's two score sections, mobile and desktop. So right now it's giving you a score on your mobile view, and for desktop it's giving you a much higher score. And you can look at then the breakdown of areas that need
improvement. So they list out some opportunities. Number one, reducing the initial server response time. So this is with your developers, you can say our initial response time is too slow. It's taking way too long for the person to engage with the content right away. 2.5 seconds before they start to see something on desktop, whereas mobile, it's taking even longer. Server images are not next-gen formats. So this is a great tool that will help you look at what are some low-hanging fruits that we can fix right away. So there are pages that are sitting in your directory of pages that are not being used. So just occupying space, they're probably idle pages. You can remove some of those pages and it'll help speed up the page, number one. And number two, it'll increase the ranking of your site. So there's a lot of great advantages. It also tells you areas you did well in. So images are properly sized. You have a very minimal CSS. You have your JavaScript. Your coding of images is good. So, different things can be broken down. So I highly recommend for those that have technical teams working on their websites to always keep coming back and looking at how can we keep increasing our score and put targets for yourself that are not, in the sky. If you're scoring low, getting this to just the second category. So your target becomes for mobile, we want to bring ourselves to the 50, 60, 70% over time, but work on some of these changes. So, the technical teams will know exactly what they have to do and it'll walk you through them. It'll give you some ideas of what you need to consider doing, how you can improve, and what you can do. So it even gives you some of the images that are causing slowdowns. So it's a great tool because Google is a platform we're all using. We're all trying to make sure that users can find us. So this is one tool I would recommend all of you to use for your teams. Google PageSpeed Insights.
Oh, just page speed insight.
If you go to Google and write PageSpeed Insights, that's the first link. Google always ranks itself high, obviously. All right, so that's one tip. Number two, PowerPoint. Okay, the link building. So many of us, we put up content on our site, but we don't link to other websites. We don't link to other services. It's highly encouraged if you have mutual organizations that you work with and organizations you have partnerships with, or if you're writing content that is pulling information from other sources, that you are building links to those areas. So if you're writing a piece on the inequalities in the workforce or the pay grades that are different for men versus women, and if CCMW, let's say, is doing that piece, what can you do? Can you link with PayScale, for example, or find someone from there who's giving you some information on the disparity there? Can you link with other organizations that have done research on these things? So that way the link building will bring traffic back to you and Google will start to help increase your ranking to say that they have built outbound links, but you can also do inbound links. So linking within your own site. You might be talking about your zakat page in Ramadan. Give us your zakat. So you might have in the text, learn more about zakat. And when you click that, it's taking you to another part of your site that is more content driven on the explanation of what zakat might be, or give to this cause, learn more about how we do our projects, and then links to another page. So internal link building as well as outbound link building is very, very critical. And then you want to build your social media presence. So getting content out from your website on social media is important because they will be seen as links. So if a person clicks from Facebook, then they come to your site, Google is going to look at that as an external source or a referral that's coming into your site. So it's always important to post it on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, pieces that will bring traffic to your website. Okay, analytics. I was going to spend some time, actually quite a bit of time on analytics and do a deep dive and dig into analytics with people, but before I do that, how many of you here have Google Analytics or some other form of analytics built into the back end of your website?
Our person who manages the website does have this, but only added recently.
Okay. Others here using Google Analytics?
Yeah, I have heard about analytics, but I didn't use it.
Okay. All right. The reason it's important to know analytics, it's a good understanding of how are people engaging and how are people coming to your site. Okay, it helps you understand your visitors. It's going to give you a better approach on how to focus your content. It helps with site search engine optimization as well, because you now know what links are bringing in traffic, and it helps with your referral programs, and it's great for e-commerce metric tracking. So e-commerce, obviously anything online, donations. I'm going to share a piece of information that I have put together on the analytics from, let me just go to it here. Stop. We'll make it quick. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but I will show you the importance of something like it and why it's good to have. All right, so I'm sharing a short piece of analytics with everyone here from a time frame of April 1st to June 1st, 2020. I can see here based on, and I'm looking at specifically just the acquisition component. So it helps me see of the 74,000 users that came to the site during that period of time, what brought the traffic into our website. So direct, 24,000, display ads, 27,000, paid searches, this much, social, this much, email, this much, organic. But you can go even deeper if you wanted to understand your audience, for example. You can look at how is your audience engaging with your content during that time. How many of them were new users? How many sessions occurred? Which countries are they coming from? Where and how many are you targeting? Are they coming from the right cities? So this way it'll help to see the efforts that you're doing on your social media, on your Facebooks, Instagrams, your emails. Are they actually resulting in the right type of people coming to your site? It also helps you look at breakdowns of session times. The lower the bounce rate, the better. So display ads, highest number of traffic. Direct, we find the bounce rate is low. So people who are coming directly to the site during that time are having a longer time on our site and engaging with more content. Organic searches, people who are trying to find us, best drop off rate. So they're having only 43% drop rate. So knowing these things, you can then invest in the right sources, right areas to get more returns for your dollar that you invest. So some of these tools like display ads, paid searches, and referrals sometimes will cost you money, but you can then see the value of return for your advertising campaigns that you run. You can also see behavior. So why do guesswork when you can look at a time frame? I picked a time frame that's just a little bit before Ramadan, a little bit after Ramadan. And then did I run my campaign right to know, was the traffic all coming to the page I wanted? So building the right landing pages and bringing traffic to the right areas of your site is critical. Most campaigns, most ads, what people do is they'll run the ad and they'll have the traffic come to the homepage. And once it comes to the homepage, it's very different than what the ad might have been. It might have been an ad saying donate to our women empowerment campaign, but then when you click it, it's coming to your homepage. And now they got to navigate and figure things out and they drop off. Whereas this time, the campaign we ran was Ramadan specific. All the ads were for Ramadan. So the traffic was all being led to that page. Then we ran separate ads and separate campaigns to bring traffic to the homepage and bring traffic to the Fitra page, bring traffic to the Zakat page. It is critical that the traffic or the link that you put is linking to the right page so the users are engaging with the content that they wanted to engage with. So analytics are very helpful in understanding the audience, your acquisition channels, what is working, what is not working. And any website person who's building your website, you should be asking them to help you set up analytics so you can then go back and refer to this data and compare it with, I think I shared the wrong screen here. Share screen, PowerPoint. All right, so we didn't do a deep dive. Now, social media, I'm gonna cover this quickly since most of you mentioned you have a good understanding of it. But different platforms should be used for different things. Facebook is, if you were to ask me out of these 6, which one should I focus on the most? Facebook obviously has the most users right now. It also has, worldwide a good engagement, and their algorithms always keep changing, and they keep adding new tools. Like their videos are starting to become more popular now, auto loading videos and so on and so forth. So Facebook, it's great for connecting with friends and family. You find older age groups, 30s and up, are still using it more frequently than the younger audiences who are more inclined towards Instagram and Snapchat. And tools that are used on Facebook, you're doing a lot less frequency. So you're posting less frequently, maybe 1 or 2 posts a day. Instagram, similar, maybe 1 or 2 posts a day. And it's more visual based. So nonprofits can share their visual media, talk about the work that they're doing, the impacts that it's having. And Twitter, you can do as many as you want. It's more of an engagement tool. So you'll find some of the best organizations that are doing it really well. They're having conversations left, right, and center. In a day, they might do 60, 70, 80 different posts because they have that sort of engagement. Snapchat, mostly for the forward thinking, trying to capture the audience while it's young, a lot of storytelling and keeping it focused on the teens and young adults. LinkedIn is an overlooked platform by a lot of charities, but it's a great platform and tool for you to prospect professional donors. And you can do great prospecting and networking when you don't have the opportunity right now to meet face to face. This is a great platform to reach out to some of your donors who might be from your premium donors category, and through their network or through their contacts, have them introduce you to some new contacts. So it's a great way to do that one-on-one engagement. It's also great for acquiring talent and for finding volunteers, and clearly a lot of organizations also use it for finding board members. Pinterest is not very highly used by a lot of charities, but it's great for those organizations who have images and products that they sell. It's a great platform to use for that. So here's an example I wanted to share, Plan. So if you look at so I have 2 pictures up here. One is their overall look. So they've got it verified. They have a clear campaign picture at the top. But if you look at their imagery, you can see a consistency with how they present themselves and organization. A lot of typography. They're using a graphics and design in their single user image. They're trying to bring attention, and you can see right now coming into Ramadan, they are also now focusing on Muslim audience. So, the last 2 posts that they've done is hijabi women, and specifically focusing on Syria. So Facebook is great when you're trying to capture the attention, great on mobile, great on desktop. You should use the tool that it gives you the opportunity to boost your posts. I wouldn't do it on all your posts. The algorithm for Facebook right now is if you have 10,000 followers, you're only getting your content in front of 10% of them, so 1,000 followers. That content does not go to everybody. It only goes to about 1,000 or so. What they're trying to encourage you to do is to boost your post and increase the audience size. So the posts that you find are critical, fundraising posts, for example, you might want to boost them so that your information is getting in front of more users. And videos on Facebook are becoming more and more popular. They auto load as you're scrolling by. So having typography on your videos, like the AJ Plus style, is a great way to capture people's attention. So they click on it and open it, and you have to invest in creating good quality videos that will capture people's attention. While talking about Facebook, I pulled up some data from the campaign manager on 3 of the ads that Plan is running, and this was in October of 2019. I looked at their ads, and you can see here at the top left, this ad ran and was running on October 22nd. This was running around the same time, October 25th, and this was running around the same time, October 29th. So around that 1 week time frame, they had multiple ads running. What do you notice in terms of differences in these 3 ads? What are some things that stand out to you?
Impressions.
Okay, number of impressions, yeah.
I think the age
Engagement of
group.
women. Women engagement.
That's right. Age groups, so different targeted age groups. So you can see here, this ad, which had multiple sets running, so I was only sharing the first set. They're targeting the older audiences. Millions of children are not in school. And the other one had a more longer sentence. So they're running an A/B test on the same ad. This one here, this specific one, resonated with 55 to 65-year-old women. Okay, so this ad was specifically targeting that audience. You can see that their focus is on the bigger provinces. So they're focusing on Ontario, Alberta, and BC. They're targeting where they can get their funds from. While at the same time, they were running another ad set where you can see the spike in other demographics is a lot higher. So you're finding 35 to 44, 44, 45 to 54, and you're also seeing it increasing, especially for male audiences, also increasing. Then you go here, the third ad set, you find really they're now focused on the older audiences here. And you can also see that from why. So how do Monica or Sam get to school? Find out through our interactive journey. So younger audiences between 18 to 34 are more likely to engage and understand through an interactive journey. How are people actually going in school? They themselves are in school in that age group. They might be in university, colleges, or just graduating, getting into the workforce. Whereas these ones, they're really targeting to get funding, to get people to donate towards their campaign. So you have to look at, and this ad itself had 5 versions of it. This has 10 versions of the ad. And for this one, I have it covered up right now, but they had multiple ad sets running for the same campaign. And the A/B testing, which I suggested for emails, for the smaller organizations, you may not be able to invest in having so many different ad sets running, but starting with one, seeing how it's doing, targeting a certain audience, running a second one, targeting a different audience, and you have the capabilities to do that with Facebook when you set up your ad campaigns. Okay, Instagram, we know it's a visual platform. It's more about stories, sharing visual impact that you're making. For some organizations, you may be able to show faces. For others, if you're not, then you can obviously show, the surroundings and the things that you're impacting. And it's not just about photos. People are doing boomerangs and reels and live videos, and this is a great platform to engage with that younger audience. Okay, a tool that's overlooked a lot is LinkedIn. And you want to have that congruency. So I went to the American Heart Association's LinkedIn. You can see they're using it to really have people follow and get behind them. Over close to 500,000 people engaging with them on LinkedIn. And they had a Lift Fierce campaign going on. And when I went to the website, they had a similar interlinking campaign. So you want to make sure that you are tapping into resources that are sometimes overlooked. I have found a lot of benefit in reaching out to contacts through LinkedIn, setting up one-to-one coffee chats online, getting to know them, telling them about the organization and the work we do through my own LinkedIn network, and then having them introduce me to new people. So it's a great way for that one-to-one networking that you would do in person. You can now do that through a platform that is set up for professionals. And Twitter. So Twitter, this is one I put. You can advertise on it, but first and foremost, organic is important. Tweet as often as you can. UNICEF, when I was following them and looking at their content, I found that they're putting out posts almost, 10, 15 minutes apart sometimes, maybe 3, 4 minutes apart. For the smaller groups like myself and others that are here, you may not have that ability to have someone doing post after post after post. But if you are going to use Twitter, you have to engage, like, reshare, share content, and really make sure you can tweet as much as you can. So as a staff member, you might give them their logins, tell them, look, tweet something of relevance, comment on somebody else's, reshare stuff. You want to build that conversation on these platforms. All right, I see some hands up, but I want to cover a few more, especially crowdfunding, and then we're going to get into the questions. So this is an area people mentioned they have not spent too much time on, and I find this is an area we all could really benefit from if our targets are not that high. If you're trying to raise a couple $100,000, crowdfunding can get you there. It can also get you to the millions if you do it right. So it's a great way to involve influencers, which is a replacement to the whole celebrity approach that we are used to. It's great for building traction. It's great for exposure, and it's a great way to involve people. So here are some examples I found. This was a campaign that didn't reach its full target, but it raised over $390,000 in less than 30 days. And Mercy Bakery then done multiple campaigns, and all of them have raised quite a bit of funds. There are others. This is one that our own group here, Dawanet Sound Vision, they did. And in less than a couple of weeks, they were able to get above target of over 4,000 people. And the great thing with social media and crowdfunding is that it's user-based. So users give, users share, and it creates that level of trust in other groups. And it also shows that I have donated 50, and so-and-so has donated 10, and so-and-so is giving 50 more. So it really builds that traction, and it doesn't cost much. Some of us invest in marketing costs for our ads and so on. This is another platform that people should look at investing in. How do you involve influencers? So here's an example I found where Imam Khalid Latif, for example, he went with Islamic Relief USA to Myanmar. And then when he came back, he set up his own crowdfunding for them. And over close to 2,000 people supported it. And they raised more than the initial target. So you can involve individuals and influencers and people and reach out to them and say, look, we'd like to work with you. A cost of bringing a speaker to an event, hosting a venue, providing dinner, and all these things cost money. So now you have to flip the table and say, well, if I'm willing to pay to do this in person, can I pay to get a speaker to set up a crowdfunding and have them, instead of paying for a venue, to say, look, we'll give you a budget. Here's raise this much for us. And you pay them to instead of speaking, they're fundraising for you. That's one way. Or you can get influencers to do it for free. There are many that'll support a cause, that'll get behind a cause. And one that I saw recently, which was done by Muslims of the World, they involved with UMR, it's a US-based charity. They involved a lot of different well-known social media influencers from Canada, from US. And you see here the followings that some of these have: over 1 million, close to 500,000. They had videos after videos coming out on their pages on Instagram. They had rappers and YouTube stars and whatever else come. It doesn't have to be religious folks, because the platforms here it is crowdfunding. You're getting small $5, $10, $15, $20 donations. Anybody can give those amounts. And this is what they raised in less than 2 weeks. So yes, they might have invested $15,000, $20,000 to get these influencers. They might have invested another 10,000 or so to get everybody there to the field. But look at the returns that they were able to get from having influencers involved in getting this campaign out there. So yes, things cost money, but if you plan it right, for the bigger organizations, you can get to these targets and probably invest less than you would on doing a one fundraising gala. And for the smaller ones, you start small. You do personal fundraising pages through your friends and family networks, and then you work towards getting bigger and bigger people involved. And the word influencer has now become a job title. So people are, everybody is an influencer, but there's tools out there that will show you the engagement that they have with their audience and the people that follow them. Okay, we are getting hands up. So if I can open it up to questions, and I apologize, it's taking long. We have another few more slides, so we might go a little bit over time if that's okay with everyone.
Okay, let's start taking the questions so that we.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Nurjahan?
Yeah, is that okay? All right. So about LinkedIn, for example,
Yeah.
so like are you suggesting that we set up that the organization sets up a specific LinkedIn profile, because all that I have LinkedIn, but that these are only people who are in there are mostly professionals who work in my area of research and do similar work. Very few are others who. So if I want to find an assistant or somebody to help out in my lab, then that's a good place. But I wasn't able to see the relevance of it in the raising funds for a charity organization, unless you are suggesting that each organization should set up an individual LinkedIn network.
Yeah, good question. So you have to treat online networking platforms like LinkedIn as a great avenue, like you would if you go to an event and you network with people who could become potential donors. So it requires a bit of a shift in how we use it. So if you're only networking and connecting with people that are research based and you're only engaging with them, then it might be tough for you to go after them and reach out to them. But for someone like myself who is in fundraising, I'm always looking at different engagement platforms and different ways to create another touch point. So I'll give you an example of how we used it. We looked at and yes, I do encourage everybody to create an organization page, because you will find that people are following, post on it, share information of relevance to people on LinkedIn. So professional development things that you may have, things that you are doing specifically in your projects that help others. But use it to connect with people like you would one-to-one. So you have the ability to reach out to others you may or may not know. If you don't know them, you can always introduce yourself and tell them that you want to take 20 minutes of their time to have a coffee, tell them a little bit about the organization. But a cold reach out is always less likely to be answered than a warm one. So what I suggest is using it as a platform where what I've done is I look at our donor database, or I have our teams do that, compare it with who on there do we have that's on LinkedIn. So if we find people that are, we reach out to them through our teams and we ask them to connect us with a few more who would be willing to support our projects. And through that, we've had a few of us get introduced to 5, 6, 7 different people. And because it was a warm introduction, it led already from a place of trust. So they're like, look, we know these people, we know this organization, we support them. We'd like you to have a conversation with them. And that resulted in us now opening new doors, not being able to do it face to face. We were able to do it through LinkedIn. Having an organization page and people following you is also a great way to then follow up with those individuals. So you might have people who engage with your content. And LinkedIn is a bit more, you find the users that are using are professionals, seasoned, and obviously there are some who are looking for work and whatnot. So you can tap into the right resources if you're doing, like major gifts donors or something like that. So it can be used. It can be used for great ways other than just for your own area of work.
So are you suggesting the organization set up? Can one set up
Yeah,
an organization can set up its LinkedIn page?
of course, yes. So LinkedIn, you can have an organization page, but you as an individual also represent that organization, right? So if you want to reach out to people for that organization, um, if it's how you've got your profile set up, that and mine says I work for IDRF. So when I reach out, people know I'm reaching out on behalf of IDRF.
I just wanted to interrupt here. I know that it's past 4 o'clock and some
Yes.
people have to go. So before I, ask people to ask their questions, can anybody tell me if they have to leave right away, or can they stick around for another maybe 7, 8 minutes? We can take it till 10 after 4.
Okay, so I'll cover some of this as you see the raising of the hands. So on Google, we talked about search engine optimization, but another platform or another way is AdWords, for you to be able to put out advertising on Google. And unfortunately, in Ramadan, it becomes extremely, extremely expensive in the Muslim space because everybody wants to bid on the same words. And it's keywords that you go after. So, for example, zakat, right? This is one that is every year becoming more and more and more expensive. I know in US it's probably even more expensive, but it's looking at, around $5, $6, $7 a click before, to now reaching into the $10, $15 per click. So it gets very expensive, and you have to be very targeted with how you set this up. So in search engine optimization, it was talking about building it over time so you become higher ranked. But if you're not higher ranked, you can pick based on Google's ad pages to help you either be first, second, third, fourth, fifth in the ranking. And that'll show up as this ad. And when I write the word zakat, you find different organizations ranking. So the higher you are, the more it'll cost per that click. So your teams have to be strategic and look at different timings and approaches when you set up your Google campaigns for fundraising. They bear results 100%. You will get results, but you also don't want to put all your eggs in one sort of campaign to get that traffic. The other ways people do it is through link building and running ads for different parts of your website. So Ramadan, another example, you are going to look for prayer timings, or throughout the year, you might look for prayer timings. So when I typed in the word prayer timings on Google, this was the first ad that came up. Now, Islamic Relief is not a prayer organization, but they have a page on their website which links to prayer timings. And what's the benefit of this? Now I have landed on their website. So they have captured my, online cookies, and they are able to serve me different ads based on me now landing on their website, and different ads that can be served. You can set up visual ads. So through your displays, you can set up text only, which is keywords, and you have to have multiple sizes and shapes and stuff going in. This can be used for remarketing. So specifically people who are landing on your website and engaged with your website, people who have searched for you. So, setting up budgets so that, for every click, you might say we're only going to spend $100 maximum per day. But then you are picking words that people are going to search, and Google will help you through words that are important. Now, here's another thing that was quite interesting. You might go to a website and you browse, you don't buy something, you leave. Now you're scrolling through Facebook, and then you see their ad. And that's because this is where all sites are saying, allow us to capture your cookies and stuff so that you can start to see the relevant thing. So you might have been looking for this, you didn't buy it. Now you're starting to see the ad, it's reminding you, and it's even giving you that, hey, remember there's 40% clearance. So make sure you use the code and come and get it. So it'll always be great for us to also create ads that are retargeting people. And Google allows for this. So you can set it up that it's remarketing to people who've come to your site who have or have not engaged with your content. And that's a great way to try and capture a warmer audience. Now, one example I shared here, somebody asked about videos and use of videos. Videos is a great, great way to engage and share content with individuals. I just shared two examples here. One where, from our organization where the Prime Minister was giving a shout out to us, you find that it had a high viewership, it had a lot of engagement, a lot of shares, because people see this as, hey, wow, this is great. Somebody is saying great things about us and great thing about Muslim organization. Let's share it. But it got high viewership. Same with the last year Ramadan video. And we also used videos and boosted them. So what did this do? People watch the video, there's links set up, people can click on that link and then come to our website. But we also ran ads specifically linked to these videos so that we could have viewership growing. And the more people that are watching your content and engaging with your content, you're going to have it coming up in other people's news feeds and other people's stories. And it's critical to put budgets aside for video marketing. Video marketing costs more money than your average costs like YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook video, and others will cost a little bit more, but the engagement will definitely increase. Okay, coming to my final thoughts on all the different areas. One will not reap all your results. So you have to diversify your efforts. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. I would suggest for those of you who are starting to dabble into the online marketing space and are new, and I heard some are, bigger organizations, 30 million plus, they must be doing this for a long time. Start small, experiment, and work on areas that'll bring in the highest results. So we know that your email marketing, if you do it right, you're already engaging with constituents. Focus on having a mix of activities, some that are narrow casting that you're focusing on, like your major donors or your LinkedIn prospecting of premium donors, and some are wide, like your efforts through your social media engagement or your crowdfunding. And have a great balance between your retention efforts and acquisition efforts. Don't put everything into let's acquire new donors, let's acquire, because if you only focus on acquisition and not on retention, then you're always going to be stuck in this cycle of spending a lot of money to bring people in, whereas it costs a lot less to keep people. And with anything to do with marketing, you have to take risks and you have to try new things. So, you have to be creative. You can't always put the brakes on things. The benefits of online is you can try it. If it's not working, you can stop. You haven't put big investments in. You can put $100, $50 budget, see how it's doing. If it's doing well, you can boost it up. And if it's not, you can always put a pause on it. But try your ideas. And with digital marketing, you don't have to do the one size fits all. Like we saw with the different ads that different organizations are running, you invest a little bit, you create the content, and you target it to the right people. And lastly, as I mentioned, you want to invest in a good donor management software so that you can make sure your data is always continuously clean. As I said, what you put in, the inputs that go in are what's going to result in the outputs. So if your data going in is bad, the results you're going to cut coming out are also going to be bad. And I apologize for going over and rushing through some of this, but here is my information. I'm more than willing and happy to provide one-on-one assistance to anybody that is needed. You're more than welcome to reach out, and I'm sure I can learn things from all of you as well. So I pass it back to Sister Nargis if there's any questions.
Yes, Sister Firdaus has a question.
Yes, hi Mahmood. I just want to know CCMW is about to launch a campaign for Ramadan. And again, it's not for CCMW, but we are planning to help another charity. So I just wanted to know, we are deciding between Launch Good and GoFundMe. So if you can just kind of give us the positives and negatives for both.
Yeah, so Launch Good, we all know, is very Muslim centric, right? So Launch Good is founded by Muslims. Majority of the campaigns on there are focusing on Muslim audiences. If your campaign is very general and you think you will get support from the masses, we know Dawanet, when they first ran their campaign for the Quebec mosque shooting, they went with GoFundMe. And then the house rebuilding and getting the stuff for Ayman, they ran it through Launch Good. So you have to look at your audience that you're going to engage with. If it's very niche demographic you're going after, Muslim audience, then Launch Good is a platform where you have, you're going to find random donors, $1, $2 coming in. The fees are also something you want to look at. I think GoFundMe is slightly lower in their fees in compared to Launch Good. But with Launch Good, you have a warm audience. The likelihood of getting engagement for people specifically in Ramadan is going to be much higher. And tons and tons of Muslims go to Launch Good specifically in Ramadan to give their funds through crowdfunding. So you have to weigh out those options and you look at your constituents that are going to give to you. And then you would set up your campaign through that. There are new ones coming into town as well. There's Just Giving, which is another one that's launching. There's Classy. And there's a few other crowdfunding platforms that are there. So look at the best option that suits your constituents.
We have a question from Smile.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Smile, you're muted.
Yes, it's not so much of a question. It's more of asking for collaboration. Like, since we're all are on here, all organizations or fundraising managers from different organizations, is it possible that we can bounce ideas off each other, work together in any way? I'm just putting that out there. I mean, is that possible? So we can help one another?
Always. Smile for me, and I can't speak on everybody's behalf, but just from my own. Smile is a great organization. I've known Smile and Sakina and Fatima and everybody else is good friends. So I'm more than willing to support you in any way, shape, or form. And that applies to everybody here. CCMW is doing great work. They've supported us for a long time. But Kaser, Ersan, My Voice, Dharma, so many great organizations here. So I'm more than willing to collaborate, help, provide support, ideas. The stronger we all become as institutions and not just as individual organizations, it's better for us as a Canadian society and providing services. All of us are providing to not just Muslims. So it's great to collaborate and work together. I've found it never takes away from your fundraising revenues. You can help as many people as you want. You still look at your donor database. You might have 20,000 donors, but the blue ocean side of things, there's still another however many million Muslims, specific just Muslims, in the country that you can go after and help each other to reach. So I think collaboration is a great way. It doesn't have to be always competition to cut each other down, but it can be competition to help each other. So I do encourage all of you to reach out to each other as well.
Okay, great, thank you. So we can share our emails in the chat box, and we can all reach out to each other?
Well, actually, if you all agree with sharing the emails, and I have everybody's email, and I can put you all on one email and shoot it off, inshallah.
So mine's here for everyone, so you can take it.
And I know that we have run out of time. We're 14 minutes past. There are people asking questions, but
Okay.
I would suggest that if you could just send the email to Brother Mahmoud Qasim, that would really be great, because I'm pretty sure none of us can really stop with our questions. There's so much to take in.
Oh my! I
note-
just opened the chat.
Yeah, you could just put it in the chat right now, and maybe inshallah he will answer. But also, I just wanted to mention that because of such workshops that are so important, and one day is never enough, inshallah, post Ramadan, we are hoping for more, like, for example, 5-level, courses and stuff, because we really need to know how to do all of this stuff, things like fundraising, things like not-for-profit board governance, and all sorts of volunteer management, all sorts of things. So inshallah, Sound Vision is putting it together. You can visit our website, soundvisioncanada.com, and you can also donate and help us bring in more trainers, inshallah. But hopefully you'll be seeing Brother Mahmoud Qasim soon, and I really appreciate his information. This was just a true gem today. So please feel free to reach out to him. Once he gives me his slides and we have the video, I will shoot it off to you in an email.
I'll send that to you right now.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and look forward to connecting with all of you in the COVID era and hopefully also in the post-COVID era.
Brother Mahmoud, thank you. And Assistant Nergis, thank you very much for setting this up.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, very
Take
helpful.
care, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Take care, everyone.